So I've received a bunch of requests from you guys asking me whether I can do even longer debunking videos, okay? Long debunk videos, because some people want to listen to them in the background while they work, others want to listen to them while they fall asleep. So I've decided to take all the episodes that I've done, break them down into seasons, okay? And then edit them into one long video. So in today's video, we're going to look at 3.5 hours of episodes of me debunking UFOs. That's season 1. That's the first 15 episodes. I have more, so if you enjoy the video, then please leave me a comment underneath. Tell me, I love this long format, this is great. And also smash the like button, okay? I'd appreciate that. And again, if you enjoy this, I will create a season 2 marathon, and obviously I will keep doing videos, so there will be a season 3 marathon, and so on. But let's get into it. Here's the marathon of the first 15 episodes of 3.5 hours of UFO debunking. Enjoy. So because I've been really busy doing loads of debunking videos recently, talking about the Phoenix Lights, Bob Lazar, the Jellyfish UFO, just to name a few, people are getting in touch with me over on our Discord, okay? And you can do the same. The link is down in the description. You just need to join. It's free. You can talk to me in DMs, and people are sending me UFO videos and paranormal videos. And I'm not going to lie, I'm into that kind of stuff. I really love the paranormal, strange earth stuff. Anything that's involved, from cryptoid animals to UFOs, aliens, ghosts, all of it is right down my alley. So I love it, but people keep sending me these videos and saying, well, dude, you got to check this out. This is going to convince you, okay? UFOs are real. Now, the truth is, I've been looking at UFO stories for the better part of the last 25 years, and I've kind of, for myself, just personally come to the conclusion that they're not real, which doesn't mean that there's never anything in the air that we can't explain and so on. That's a whole different video. I'm not going to get into this in today's video, but what I want to do is I want to take some of the videos that you guys sent me and break them down, analyze them, share my thoughts on them, and tell you why I probably think they're not real. I mean, I'm going to try to be open-minded, and I might come out as a believer on the other end of this video, but let's see. So the first video that was shared to me is the so-called Russian UFO video, and I've got it right here. It's a Reddit post, and I'll link all this content down in the description so you can go check out the clip yourself and share your own opinion. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this before we get into my analysis. You know, maybe you want to write a comment right now, share your thoughts on this video. It's titled, "Is this video real?" It says, a military helicopter over Sakhalin captured this UFO in May 2021. We're going to take a look, and again, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Now, the first thing I notice is that it doesn't sound like a helicopter. Now, I'm not an aviation expert or anything, but it does sound more like a jet engine to me. And also I notice that the shakiness of the camera, the motion of the camera, which is constantly there, right? It's kind of moving up and down slightly all the time because the background clearly has been filmed from some kind of aircraft. And it's matched very well to the object. So at first glance, you might look at this and say, well, that looks pretty real. Then I do notice, however, that like the edges you see here, like especially that back part of the craft, these, I don't know how you would describe them, like almost brownish tones that are reflected on the back of this ship, which clearly is like a highly reflective surface. It's supposed to be a highly reflective surface. That color scheme, that world of color doesn't happen anywhere else in this footage. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really look like it is actually reflecting. So I got skeptical looking at that. Did a little bit of research, and I found that, in fact, actually it has been debunked. There's a whole site, which is this one, that has debunked it, and it says, fact check, UFO spotted hovering between the mountains of Russia. Nope, it's just VFX. And they're breaking down when it was first shared in this viral tweet a while back. And the conclusion is that a person replying to that tweet above said that this video was created by a special effects artist called Colden Kirkgaard. We found Kirkgaard's Instagram account, and there we found the viral video. Let's go check it out. So here is his Instagram account, and indeed, it has even a little TikTok mark there on the left, if you see in the beginning, or in the bottom as well, with his TikTok handle attached to it. So you can go smash the like button, because to be honest, I think it's a pretty good piece of VFX work. It looks fairly real. It's fairly convincing. Again, the movement is matched very well. But Kirkpatrick VFX says, I've been noticing this video I made has been making the rounds, being shared online outside of my TikTok page. As of late, 0 credit given to me, of course. Pretty proud of it though. It crossed the 1.1 million views mark too. Also fully rendered in Unreal Engine 4. Which for me as an avid gamer is really impressive. So that means, I don't know if it's like real-time rendering, but it's not rendered in something like Blender or 3ds Max or Cinema 4D or anything. It's rendered apparently in Unreal Engine 4. So there you have it. The Russian UFO video is clearly debunked. And while it is looking fairly realistic at first glance, you can see some issues with it, especially when it flies here underneath the camera. Like the last half a second of it really doesn't look great. But still, Kirkpatrick VFX, great work. Moving on to the next one, and this is a very recent one that was shared to me, again, on our Discord. It was posted 9 days ago. I don't know if this is the original time when the video was actually recorded. Maybe it's an older video. It's the first time that I'm seeing it. But again, posted in r/aliens on Reddit. I'm going to share the link again down in the description to that original Reddit post so you can go check it out. Now, I don't know if this has like a name like the Russian UFO. Maybe it might be a bit new, so it doesn't have a name yet, but let's take a look. It just says recorded in Australia there on the very bottom, and that's kind of all the information we're getting. Let's take a look again. So first, some kind of lightning is coming down, it looks like, hitting it. And there's a light that seems to go behind those clouds there. And then it shoots up into the sky. Now let's take a look at this a bit closer. It's a very grainy video. It has a lot of artifacts from the compression. And look at this. Look at this. This is where I'm getting skeptical, okay? Because that's not necessarily how a light would look if it goes behind the clouds. Just the moment where this seemingly very bright light goes behind the clouds is very suspicious to me, because also it gets completely blocked by the clouds. Just take a look. See that? For like a second it disappears completely. Also, another thing that immediately gives me a hiccup is the blue lightning, right? Like, just look at the blue lightning. It looks, let's be honest, the blue lightning looks like complete garbage. Like, that breaks it for me. Maybe people who are not that familiar with VFX and how that stuff actually looks will be less suspicious, but I look at this and I'm like, okay, that lightning is like composited over the background footage. Also, the movement of the ship compared to the footage seems slightly off. I don't know if the frame rate is inaccurate, right? So that the film has, I don't know, 27 frames per second, and then the guy who composited the UFO over it rendered it with like 30 or 60 frames per second. So there seems to be a little bit of a discrepancy between the frame rates of the two. And I haven't read the comments before, but they're going down the same direction to me. Frame rate of animation is faster than the one in the recording. Recorded in Australia, edited by my 13-year-old daughter and her Android. Now, someone posted this video, which links to kind of an example video of like lightning effects in After Effects, and it looks very similar, but let's be honest, the effects of the lightning that you see here even look way better and way more realistic than what we see in this UFO video, and obviously also much less artifacts in this one. It's much more crisp. So it seems like whoever did this is just way more experienced than the guy who's trying to fake the UFO lightning, because it doesn't look good. Now, I don't have a debunk site like the other one, considering this is just a few days old when it was posted, so it might come our way later on. But it screams CGI to me, okay? There are so many red flags, not just the differentiating frame rate. There's so much wrong with this clip, so I'm not buying it, okay? It's not going to convince me. Now, the next one is not a video. It is a document, which is allegedly a CIA document, that proves that a downed alien ship turns soldiers into limestone. Okay, very mysterious. This is the document. And people are giving a little bit of context on the authenticity of it actually being a CIA document. And they say, or Tzapanath Panaya says, when people find the stuff in the CIA vault, they always say actual CIA document, as if the CIA believed 100% this actually happened. The CIA is an intelligence agency. Their agents and assets document anything and everything, regardless of its perceived value at the moment, because it could come in handy later. Same as those documents that say an agent heard that Hitler lived in Brazil or Venezuela. Just because it's a CIA document doesn't make it true. It's just a document for reference. So it looks like it is a document that was found in the CIA vault, right? Which is the database where you can find documents that are kind of archived and have been released due to the Freedom of Information Act. So I'm not doubting that this document was found in this vault, but let's give it a quick read and judge for ourselves. US intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the events. One of the CIA representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one blood freeze. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. Which is already like, dude, if those are aliens, your little missile, propelled by a jet engine, is not gonna hit that UFO, but apparently in this story it did. It fell to Earth, not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. I feel like I'm reading a science fiction story here. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply and then became a brilliant white. In the few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up in an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles. Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade were less exposed to the luminous explosion and they survived. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that the source of the energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organism, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. A CIA representative stated, if the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked. Also interesting that it says up here in the same report that a lot of the content or the stories of this report have found their way abroad, specifically by the authoritative magazine Canadian Weekly World News. Okay. Now, I like to remind you that, like, the Weekly World News also brought you the Bat Child story. Bat Child found in cave, legendary paranormal mystery. Bat Boy found in cave. We never heard of it again. And at this point, we only find it in r/nostalgia on Reddit because it doesn't even make it into the r/paranormal subreddit. It's not worthy. Now, 2 things that stand out to me. First of all, it sounds too absurd to be true. Right, something like that certainly would have had massive ripples within the paranormal researcher community and people would be going down on this story as hard as they can. And the other questionable aspect to me is that it really picks up on like biblical stories. It's literally the story of the Medusa. Right, you look into her eyes and she turns you into stone. So it just feels like it's a story that originates from a human mind rather than aliens. And the whole thing of them like merging into one creature, becoming this bright light entity that then I don't know, man. The whole thing feels really far-fetched and just made up by a science fiction writer. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe someone wanted to be a big science fiction writer and he started telling these stories hoping that it would propel his career or something. We don't know. But personally, I'm going to put this in my folder of all the this definitely didn't happen stories. And also it raises questions, right? Like, if you can turn people and creatures into limestone, if aliens did that, what about the Sphinx? Is the Sphinx actually a real creature that was just turned into limestone by aliens? Another last point to mention on this document is that down here it says the energy that's still unknown to Earthlings. Right? This incredible power from the aliens that is unknown to Earth. Like, who uses the word Earthlings? Nobody does that, except maybe a science fiction writer, and especially in an official CIA report, I doubt they would use a term like that. It just doesn't make much sense. So there are so many red flags. So I'm afraid I'm not going to get convinced by this particular document of turning soldiers into limestone. All right, we're moving on. I have one more video to share with you guys in today's video, and that one is more like a cryptoid video. Okay, so we're moving into that sector now. Let's take a quick look. It's just titled King Crab. So here we see an arm of a crab, but look how big it is, right? That's an absolute unit, hence it's posted in the absolute unit subreddit. So could this be real? It looks pretty real, right? Could crabs of that size exist? I mean, bro, that stuff would be delicious with butter. You could eat so much, like one of those arms would last you a week. And we're getting plenty of Dark Souls jokes down in the comment section. If Dark Souls told me anything, then it's that a much bigger crab is about to pop out of the mist and attack you. OP probably dodge rolled after the video ended. Looks like a piece of a concrete sculpture if I had to venture a guess. Nope, it's a level 100 king crab, bro. Now I agree with the commentator over here, because what it definitely isn't is the real arm of a crab. And interestingly enough, someone says down here in the comments, probably not real, but in theory, crabs could grow indefinitely large, providing they are able to consume enough oxygen. Oceans were much more oxygen rich in prehistoric times, which is in part why sea creatures were much larger than today. Someone replies and says, I think for crabs and lobsters, it's less about oxygen and more about whether they can still properly mold after growing so large. Up to a certain size, they can't mold as often anymore, and the energy exertion is too much for them. Eventually, some bacterial infection they can't mold away would lead to their demise. The largest lobsters caught with pictures is the size of a small child. However, its claw is still smaller than the one in the video. Now, in case you're wondering what molting means, it basically means that they kind of leave behind their old shell and in a kind of rather disgusting looking process shed their old skin and move out of it. We don't need to look at this. This is really disgusting. But you get the idea. So they do the saying, like, if they would mold at a certain size, they couldn't do it. They would get infections. They would die. So it kind of makes it impossible. So however you twist it and turn it, it's not real, guys. Also, why is the video so short? Why do we only get that short look at it? Surely if you would find an arm like that, you know, you would drag it on the beach, you would turn it around, you would look at it in more depth and reveal that it's actually real and organic tissue. And the person who recorded this clearly didn't do that. So while people in the comments are not exactly debunking it with some kind of direct reference where they're like, yeah, you find those on that specific beach and it's a concrete sculpture or anything definite like that, it's pretty clear that it's just not feasible. It just doesn't make much sense, okay? So we just have to assume it's fake due to logic. I'm sorry to disappoint you. So we've debunked 4 videos, 3 videos, one document. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown. If you did, smash the like button. If you enjoy it, let me know in the comments. I will do more videos, but obviously you guys need to share this content with me. Join our Discord. Again, the link is in the description. I'd hope to meet you there. You can DM me, share the videos that you think might be real, and then we can discuss it from there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash like, subscribe if you did. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. So you guys have been sending me more UFO videos, and I really appreciate it. It seems like you guys enjoyed my last video in which I explained some UFO clips you shared with me, and you can do the same, okay? We have a Discord server that you can join through the link in the description. Go over there, you can DM me, send me links of videos, of UFO clips that you want me to explain or debunk in these videos. I always greatly appreciate that. The reason why we can't do it in the YouTube comments is because YouTube doesn't allow the posting of links, and then people just say, like I had the other day, someone was like, just debunk the Turkish UFO. If you search for Turkish UFO video, you find like a million different clips. So it doesn't really work. So please make sure you go through the proper channels of our Discord, join the Discord. It's free, obviously, and then you can send the videos to me over there. And that's what you guys have been doing. I have received a few more quite interesting and fascinating UFO videos that you guys have shared with me. And we're going to look at 4 of them today and do our best to explain them, try to make sense of them, right? Question whether it's actually aliens visiting Earth or possibly a slightly more earthly explanation. Let's get into it. The first video is called UFO Spotted in Sweden, and it's a fascinating one. I looked at this. I mean, let's take a look at it. It looks like this. It doesn't have sound. It was shared with me through a link on Reddit, and it looks fairly convincing. It really looks like at least something that someone filmed with a camera, right? And at first when I saw it, I was like, that's a drone, right? That's like an object flying through the night sky. Why does it have a little rudder? Looks a bit like a surfboard. Is it like a Silver Surfer thing that's going on here? I don't know. But it certainly looks like a real film. It looks like someone put a camera up and filmed something that flew possibly through the night sky with the black and white night vision mode. It looks a bit like that. But then the second thing that I noticed looking at this footage is like, why is there a date? Right, it's a fairly recent video. It's like the 5th of February of 2024. This was posted 11 days ago. And why does it say REC in the top right-hand corner? Like, what camera in 2024 puts a little timestamp or like date stamp on the footage and puts REC in the top right-hand corner? It absolutely makes no sense. So that took a lot of the credibility away. And then having done a little bit of research, it turns out that this quite convincing footage, and I mean, again, like, look how the stars, the night sky behind it is like a little bit blurred out, and you can just see the stars whooshing by, the clouds. Well, it turns out, sorry to disappoint you guys, but it's another CGI artist, okay? Here is the original clip posted on Instagram by QVist Designs, I guess is his name. And people are telling him as well, it's like, dude, this render's going crazy on Twitter. So many high followed accounts are claiming this is real footage, LOL, and the comments are eating it up. So this guy created it, hashtag footage, found footage, hashtag 100% real. Okay. But if you look at his account on Instagram, you can see, you know, he's doing all kinds of sci-fi renders. You can find clips like this where it also seems like he's playing around with merging real footage and artificial animation CGI. Some lovely Star Wars renders in there as well. So it's clearly a 3D artist, and he shared this, and it kind of went viral. Unfortunately, not really on his Instagram. I don't think, I mean, it's only got like 37 likes, but it went crazy on Twitter and Reddit. So that one is debunked, okay? It's not real, it's not aliens. I'm sorry, guys. Let's move on to the next one. Now, this is an interesting one. It's been shared with me through a Twitter link by an account called Volpicelli Strange Videos. And it just says cigar-shaped UFO caught on CCTV camera in Winters, California, United States. What is it? What is it? Are they here? Well, let's look at the footage. It comes with a little screenshot and a video. Let's look at the video first. It's clearly been recorded with some kind of potato, I have to assume, but Jesus Christ, man. I think this is a zoomed in section, okay? So that's why it is like heavily artifacted. But look at this. Look at this. It's flying through the sky. Oh my. And here's the whole clip, right? So it's been slowed down in the little clip we just saw. Look at it. Cigar-shaped UFO. So this seems to be filmed with some kind of doorbell camera or something that was just filming random movement at night. And it looks very suspicious. Let's look at this clip again from the beginning. So here it is, flying through the sky. Now, one thing I noticed as I was looking through this, right? If this would be a real physical object that is cigar-shaped, flying through the sky, then surely, and let's say it has like lights on the side of it, then surely it would have the same amounts of lights, right? Going through the sky. Now check it out. Here you have like the cigar shape with two lights. There's a light here and there's a light there. Now let's look at the next frame. Oh, now it's 3 lights. And also it seems way longer, right? If you look at it, approaching, 2 lights, fairly short, 3 lights, slightly longer. Well, that made me slightly suspicious. And also, I mean, note how this looks. It's approaching in the distance. You can kind of see it here, approaching in the clouds. And it looks way smaller. It only seems to really get this kind of elongated scale as it approaches the camera and gets closer to that house that it flies over. However, if you look around the internet and search for cigar-shaped UFOs, you'll find all kinds of similar cases, right? Like this one, for example. UFO tales just keep going and going. This is a photo of an alleged UFO that was taken in China, in Guangzhou. And you can see it looks, it's not the same, but it looks very similar, right? It has the lights on the side and it has the elongated cigar shape and all that. Well, the earthly explanation is unfortunately way less exciting than the footage indicates. And that is that it's basically a long exposure photo of an airplane going over the city, because these door cameras, they don't capture like smooth 60 frames per second, especially in dark environments at night. They only capture, yeah, I don't know what it is, but like 1 frame every second or something. And then if there is light moving, cars going by in the wrong moment, then the headlights are stretched out. It's a pretty common phenomenon. It's basically a long exposure shot of an airplane, and people have uploaded very similar images in photography subreddits like this one, for example, and you can see it looks exactly the same. It's slightly longer because obviously this person was intending to have a long exposure. It was not an accident because of the door camera, but there are plenty of examples that are all very, very similar, and you can see it is just this effect that you get if a camera is not able to capture smooth footage in like low light environments. This is the effect that you get if an airplane flies overhead. And obviously, again, like just looking at the footage, once you know that that's what it is, especially when you see it like this, it makes a lot of sense, right? It really, unless you go zoom in and just try to turn it into something that's not, it just really looks like an airplane going overhead. And this is also the conclusion they came to in this article about the Guangzhou UFO. Experts later concluded that the picture showed an airplane, which lights were stretched out due to time exposure effect. So whenever you see a so-called cigar-shaped UFO, that looks a bit like this, like that, or like that, your alarm bells should be going off, because it's most probably not aliens. Most probably. Okay, the chance is never zero, but let's move on. The next one is also a very recent one. It was captured over Frankfurt just a few days ago on the 10th of February. Okay, and this is intriguing. Check this out. And it even comes with audio. Check it out. So clearly another person who only has a potato to record their footage. I mean, just look at the artifacts. That's not even zoomed in. What is going on? I mean, presumably it's been like heavily compressed as well, right? Because it's like uploaded to Reddit and I don't know, probably ran through 5 different forms of compression. But you have these UFOs going back and forth, right? Like unexplained light phenomenon in the sky, and they come towards him and then they fly back. And it seems almost like they're leaving a little trace behind, but that absolutely might be just an effect of the camera. But notice how the lights just go back and forth, right? They're moving almost in like a linear fashion. They're not zipping about to the left, to the right or something. So having seen this footage, there is a pretty easy explanation, okay? So the 11th and the 10th of February is when they celebrate Carnival in Germany. And there's like people wear costumes and they get very, very drunk. That's what they do. And during this one specific Carnival event in Frankfurt, they were using spotlights. And there's even a whole article that talks about it, and it's titled, and this is the first time I can use my German skills in one of my videos. This is actually amazing. I can try my best to translate this. So it basically says, the puzzle around the light phenomenon above Frankfurt and Hofheim has been solved. Was it flying saucers, satellites, or spotlights? Unusual light effects, phenomenons had people in this certain area irritated, but now a Carnivals group shed some light onto the dark. Jesus, they're trying to do puns. This is terrible. So anyway, they posted a little picture of the video that we just looked at. I guess it kind of went viral. But it says down here, the suspicion that was confirmed on Wednesday is that the Carnivals team group, these kinds of people based in Mainz, have confirmed that they had these huge light beamers that were there to celebrate, you know, and they just went back and forth and they ticked all the boxes, and they had 16 of them just in the core of the city, and they used them, and they were visible up to 40 kilometers. So loads of people must have called in, were very irritated, like, oh my god, the aliens are here, they are coming. And they're like, no, we're just getting drunk and looking at spotlights in the sky. So this is a misunderstanding. So I'm sorry to debunk this one as well. It's just a bunch of spotlights and drunk people celebrating Carnival. Let's move on. So the last one for today is a classic one. It was uploaded a day ago, but I saw this a while back. It's at least 10 months old or something when I saw it for the first time at least. It says down here, this footage was taken by pilot Jorge I can't read his name, while flying over the department of Antioquia in Colombia, and it recently went viral. Social media. It was released in 2022, so it's even older than I thought, but only went viral in 23. Okay, fair enough. According to the pilot, his Cessna plane was at 12,500 feet when it passed next to an object that moved suddenly. Ortega says he found that strange, turned the aircraft around, and then started filming with his iPhone. Okay, so he already flew past it once. Then he's like, that was weird. Let me turn around, right? He's like, beep, beep, beep with his plane, turning around. Flying past it again, trying to capture it, and here is the footage. Let's take a look. So that's why he's filming it, right? Because he knew it was coming. He roughly knew where it was. So he was ready with his camera. And I guess there it comes. Bit of a lead time. Wait for it. But did you see that? Did you see it? There it is. Okay, so this is actually interesting, right? Because towards the end of it, you do get a little bit of a sheen up here. You see that? It's shiny. It's all silvery and reflective, so it's kind of a diamond-shaped thing. And then what I noticed as well is that the bottom of it is kind of tapered. It's not a perfect diamond shape in the sense of, let's say, for example, it would be a metal structure, right? So you would have a diamond-shaped metal frame and you mount plates to it, so it would be a perfect geometrical diamond shape. It's not that. It's kind of tapered on the bottom, and to be honest with you, I think, and I have no evidence for this, but I think that gives away what it is, okay? It's not a mechanical craft or anything like that. It's most likely a balloon. And the reason why I say this is because you can see it in this balloon down here. Look how the bottom of these balloons taper, right? Like they close because the gas, the hot air that is inside the balloon goes to the top of the balloon, which then kind of pulls the bottom of the balloon together and tapers it very similar to what we see here. At least it's reminiscent. So you find other examples of these diamond-shaped balloons, and often they are solar balloons. So that's a special type of balloon that doesn't need like a refreshment of hot gas all the time to stay up in the air. It actually uses, if I understand this, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that's how I understand. It uses the heat of the sun to keep the gas inside hot, and that's how the balloon stays afloat. Usually these balloons are higher up. They are not at 12,500 feet, because often they do measure, weather data and things like that. They're basically weather balloons. You can even use them, like some people have this as a hobby, and they send balloons like that up into the stratosphere, for YouTube clicks or whatever they do it for. But I mean, look at it, right? If you look at this shape, and then you look at the video again, it's very, very similar. The other thing that makes it suspicious to me is it just looks like it's kind of stationary, right? It might float up a little bit or whatever, but it's not that it moves in the air irrationally, where you'd be like, okay, if this is a UFO and it's like an intelligently controlled ship or whatnot, maybe it would move around. This very much looks like it's like stationary in the air, and the reason why it whizzes past him is because he's in an airplane. He's in an airplane flying past it. So the speed that you're seeing is literally the speed of the airplane. Do you know what I mean? Which also indicates that it's probably just a balloon. Okay, I mean, this is one where I'm just speculating, but I see this footage and all my alarm bells go off. And it's not my alien alarm bells. Let's put it this way. So there you have it, guys. 4 more videos. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown. I mean, share your thoughts down in the comments if you disagree with me, if you feel like, no, what are you talking about? Clearly, aliens, bruv. Then leave that and leave your arguments, your points you want to make down in the comments. I would appreciate that. Also, if you enjoy these videos, please smash the like button and maybe leave me a quick comment just saying, yeah, bro, I enjoy these videos. This is cool, man. So I kind of know people are enjoying them, and then I'll do more. Again, join our Discord, link in the description. You can share your videos with me. We'll look at them in these little breakdowns. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and I see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. So I just want to say thank you, because you guys have been busy sending me more UFO videos over on our Discord, and you can do the same. The link is in the description. Join our Discord community. Share your videos with me over there in DMs, or just post them in a public channel. I would really appreciate them. And I got quite a few comments under my previous UFO debunk videos or UFOs explained videos. I'll link the other episodes that I did down in the description as well. And people have been saying like, well, you just choose these UFO videos that you can debunk. Well, let me say up front, today we have one video that I have a theory about, but I can't really debunk it. I can't really pinpoint exactly what we are seeing in the video, okay? So we'll get to that, but let's get into the first video. The first one that was shared with me is called Super Fast Object Passes CCTV Camera in Hudson River, New York. So it seems to be some kind of harbor situation going on here. It looks like the camera is mounted to a boat. I think this is the front of the boat that we're looking at. So it's a CCTV camera. The video does not have sound, but check this out. Cue the ominous music. Ooh, did you see that? Let's look at that again. So it is indeed super fast, whatever it is. Boom, and it pulls some kind of trail after it, right? So what is going on here? One more time. Damn. So it's a few things I notice immediately. Okay, the first thing that makes me question what's going on here is whatever it is seems to be above the trees, right? Because you see the trail and the object first appears just above this tree line here, right? It's not coming from in front of the trees. Whoop. So it shoots over from the trees. However, for this one, there is, unfortunately, a very simple explanation, okay? And you can find it down in the comments. If you scroll down, you can find Poop Machine's comment. And he or she says from 8 days ago, it's a bug flying close to the camera. Because it's so close, it looks like it's going very fast. The infrared reflects off it, and because of the way video processing works, it leaves artifacts. So that is true. We've seen this in previous UFO videos that we looked at here in this show. You want to call this a show? I don't know. But whenever you get these low-budget night vision CCTV cameras, whether it's like doorbell cameras or like this on boats, objects like planes or cars or anything that has like a bright light or that reflects infrared light leaves a trace that then again leads like to artifacts and stuff. So that is kind of coherent with what we are seeing here. He continues to say, video encoding works like this. It's essentially many photos taken in sequence making up the frames. If things haven't changed much in the image, it just leaves the previous data. So it basically uses the previous frame's image to prevent it from using as much data / power / storage. And despite the image changing, bad encoding means you get this trail of white. The trail is likely a result of having a cheap camera or having the settings configured as use as little storage as possible. Source, I worked as a CCTV technical engineer and we would get these all the time. You'll see those artifacts on videos where confetti is fired or /thrown even when using quality TV cameras. And this is true, okay? Cameras, especially at night and especially when they are not high quality cameras, tend to struggle with footage like this. And that also kind of explains why you only see this object or this insect appearing above the tree line. It's a little bit of a coincidence, right? Because I think what is happening here, insects are small, right? So if they are, let's say, 5-6 meters away from the camera, they don't pick up the infrared. They are literally not visible. I'm sure there are other insects flying through the air at night, but you don't see them. You only see them at the point when they are close enough to the infrared light so that they pick up that light. And that's why it looks like this object / insect appears above the tree line, when in fact it doesn't really. It is probably a meter or something, a meter and a half away, and it's just a coincidence that it sits visually above the tree line. If that insect would have flown, let's say 10-15 centimeters lower towards the camera, so it would have left a trail like from here to here, then I'm convinced it would have been in front of the tree line. But it's a coincidence that it has been at that height, and that's why it looks like it's flying from above the tree line, and it gives the illusion of being a very, very big object that passes through the sky at enormous speed. Okay, so I would say personally, I mean, leave your thoughts on this down in the comments. Do you think it's not an insect? Do you think it's aliens? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. But to me personally, I think it's explained. It's debunked, whatever you want to call it. Great footage though. Love it. I was puzzled by this at first as well. I didn't really get what we were looking at. All right, let's check the next one. And this is the one that I can't debunk easily. Okay, I can't say this is what it is. I have a suspicion, but I can't prove my suspicion. This one does have sound, so let's listen to it and let's take a look. This is, by the way, the stabilized version of this video, because I try to use the stabilized versions of these videos because they just, you can see it ever so slightly clearer. Let's go. All right, so here we see a triangular object seemingly hovering in the sky. Red light in the middle, 3 very bright lights on each end of the triangle. And it's not moving. It seems to be not moving, right? Now, the dude, I think, is moving. I assume it's a dude, I don't know, but he's moving out a bit. And then he's zooming in, and then you'll see something interesting. You'll see it starting to spin. And I don't know if this is the camera. Check it out now, right? Look at it. Glad this is stabilized. It would be almost unwatchable if it wouldn't be stabilized. Look at this. Do you see it? It starts to spin around. And then it just seems to shoot off. Now, few things I notice here. Okay, let me switch off the audio. We've heard it now. First of all, I think when it shoots off, it is not actually the object shooting off. And I tell you why I think that. Because the darkness level changes. I understand here you have these lights shining into the camera, so it should be brighter. But to me, and I can't prove this, obviously, but to me it looks much more like he's ripping the camera down. Because you can see in the beginning of the video, this night sky has this, you know, I almost want to call it like a slightly lighter blue than the buildings underneath here, right? Look at this tone down here, the color tone. It's really dark, it's really black, while the sky is almost a shade of blue, right? It's a lighter shade. And now check it out again. When this object shoots off into the sky, look at this. Look how the night sky immediately turns black. And also you can see that suddenly like he's starting to film some roots or something that is clearly not in the sky, right? You see this here? Like just in the end, the last few frames, you can see there are some roots, some objects that would not be in the sky. So I think that the end of it is not the object shooting off into the sky. at insane speed. It is the cameraman ripping down the camera, which already indicates that it's a hoax. Okay, if this is what it is, again, I can't prove this, but it like that would be a hoax. Now, the next thing that I noticed, because my theory what this is it's a model. Okay, I don't know. Again, I said in the beginning, I can't disprove this. It might as well something. And a lot of people in the comments, you know, they say absolutely 100% authentic. I'll vouch for it. It's not my footage. And I have no source for where this comes from, which is another big problem with this footage. Like, we have no source. Nobody says, this is my footage, I filmed it, and so on. It just appeared out of nowhere on the internet. But this guy says the only difference is when I saw it here in Los Angeles about 13 years ago, the lights on the corners were a dull yellow and not bright white like this. And the light in the middle was dark orange and pulsating very slow. And there's a bunch more comments like that where people say, I saw the same thing. This is real. So I'm not here to say this is definitely a model. But look at what we see in the top left corner here. There seems to be some kind of wire that seems to go overhead, right? And this could just be like a TV wire or whatever that connects two buildings, whatever it is. But it could also be that, you know, you'd really just need to hang a triangular object with a bunch of LED lights off a fishing wire, of a wire like that from above, and you'll get a very, very similar effect. Again, this is my suspicion. I don't know. I can't prove it. But with the pan away in the end, like, that makes me, like, brutally suspicious. Because to me, that very clearly is him pulling down the camera. And that raises all the other questions. Like, why did he stop filming? Like, if he pulled down the camera, if the object didn't shoot off into the sky, why would you even stop filming? And even if it would shoot off into the sky, why would you immediately stop filming? Wouldn't you, like, pan out and start filming the sky? Maybe it reappears or something. Also, his reaction, you heard it. Like, he walks out in complete silence. He does not make a single noise. Now, it's possible that he's just very well controlled, right, about his own emotions. But dude, if you would see a triangular hovering object like that in the sky that's lit like that, dude, I mean, there would be at least some heavy breathing or some form of excitement. You would be more shaky with the camera. It's not something you see every day, but this dude seems to be as cool as ice. So, few indicators there that make me very skeptical that this is in fact aliens. But again, leave your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. Maybe you are convinced by this. It is quite puzzling footage though. Okay, I'll put that out there. It's not as clearly debunked as the others, but personally, not buying it. Next one is, this is an intriguing one. Okay, I love this one because it's really fascinating. It's called a white triangle flying over the moon and cast a shadow. Any idea what this could be? Any idea what it could be? Now, this video, I think it also doesn't have sound, right? Let's look at it. Oh, it does. Okay. Okay, so clearly the audio has been, like, altered. Okay, so they put this audio over it. Like, you hear in the beginning, like, the sound of almost like a jet flying over, like, as if you could hear this when it's flying over the moon and you're filming this with some kind of telescope camera and you would hear, like, a jet engine. It absolutely makes no sense. But fair enough, there's some audio. So let's look at this footage. It shows seems to show a white triangular object flying over the surface of the moon and tracing a shadow onto the surface of the moon. Now, it is intriguing footage. However, there's a few red flags here that I wanna point out to you guys. First of all, the way the camera moves seems off. Okay, keep in mind, this has clearly been filmed from Earth. Okay, so if you want to film the moon surface from the Earth, there are just two options. One is you have a camera or some kind of telescope that sits on a tripod, so it will not move at all, or like maybe very, very slightly shaking, right? Because it's very hard to keep something so steady at this kind of distance, right? So you would have like a very, very minimal shake, but it would be steady most of the time. Or you would have a camcorder or something that someone's holding in the hand and you zoom into the moon, and then you would have like significant shakes, okay? Especially when you're that close to the moon surface, because no hand can hold it as steady when filming with like a 3, 4, 5, 600 times zoom or whatever you would need to film this. However, look at the camera movement in this footage. Look at it. This is like very light movement. This looks like you're filming something that is like 10 meters away from you. Like someone's holding the camera, but you have like this very modest shake in the camera, and it just doesn't make much sense to me. That's the first red flag for me. The second red flag is the shadow itself. Let's look at the shadow frame by frame. Now look at the shadow of the object and look at the shadow within these craters, right? Obviously, I assume it might be a still image that the guy created this film with, whatever. But if you would have a real shadow of an object flying over the moon, this shadow should be the same shade of black than this over here, or than the shadow right next to it, or even the craters that are right next to it that are very small, right? These are rather small shadows compared to this one, but this shadow is lighter, okay? It is not the same shade of black, and that already raises all kind of alarm bells for me. Now, the second one is, check this out. Now, here's a little piece that is like a slight elevation, I assume, on the surface of the moon. So the sun hits it, and it's very, very bright. Once this shadow moves over that specific piece of light, it should for a second be completely dark, right? It should be very dark. Now, check it out. It's not. It's not. It creates like some kind of mixture. You can, in fact, still see the illuminated white spot that sits in the shadow behind it. And the reason why you see that is because he painted the shadow on top of the moon. Okay, that's my theory, at least. I don't think that this shadow is real. I think that is the part that has been fudged. The dude painted a shadow on top of the moon. Maybe he just took the white triangle and set it off by a fixed amount and traced it on the moon. So I think, to be honest, my theory is the object is real. The object we're seeing is really there and has been filmed with the telescope or whatever he's using. However, the shadow is not. And the shadow is what makes it interesting, because when you're filming the moon from Earth, you quite regularly get objects passing between your lens and the moon, but they are passing in the Earth's atmosphere. So it might be a satellite, it might be a plane, it might be a drone, it might be, I don't know, anything, even like a little paper plane, whatever it is. If it flies past the lens between you and the moon's surface, it will give this illusion of it potentially being huge and flying over the surface of the moon, when in fact it's more close to Earth. But the shadow that he faked, in my personal opinion, gives it this crazy context where you're like, wow, you know, that puts it on the moon. So I don't think this is real. I think the dude faked the shadow. It's a clever fake, right? Because by just adding the shadow, you're suddenly making it look like it's flying over the surface of the moon, when in fact it's probably just an object in our own atmosphere that flies between camera on Earth and surface of the moon in our atmosphere. Something like this. That's my theory. Again, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'm curious to hear them. Now, the last one that we're going to look at today is the SpaceX UFO. And there's a bunch of those, right? Because obviously, since SpaceX started to play such a dominant role in like space exploration and like launching rockets all the time and all that, obviously we get loads of footage from SpaceX rockets, and with that we potentially capture loads of objects that fly through space and alongside the SpaceX rockets. Now, this one does have audio, so let's listen. I don't know who the guy is who gives the commentary, but check this out.
Well, that engine burn was successful. There it goes. There it goes. Did you see that?
Did you see that? Well, it was hard to miss,
let's go
bro.
Back a little bit. Look at that. Here's the object. Slow motion. It looks solid. It looks round.
It does not look round, bruv. It looks round-ish. I wouldn't say this is round. It looks like an egg shape with like a few elements protruding from it from the top, but fair enough. Look, it doesn't look round at all, actually, in the later frame. Like, this is not even close to being round, but okay.
A side, like a side of a disc.
It seems to reflect the light, right? So it seems to be a silverish object.
And it almost looks like, right here, it looks almost like a, you know, the silver bowls your mom used to use to make dough and things like that and mix things together. Kind of looks like that. A very fat, thick disc.
Fat, thick disc? A silver bowl that your mom used to make dough? I don't know about that, bruv. I mean, keep in mind, these rockets are humongous, so this seems to be fairly close to the rocket, which kind of makes it big. It's definitely bigger than a bowl you would find in your kitchen. And I agree that it does look silverish, but if you go back and you just look at the like the shape up here, especially in this particular frame, this is really weird actually, right? Because it looks like silverish here, but the one frame in between, what is that? What does it look like? Not at all. Look, silver, black, silver, right? There's like one frame where suddenly it looks black. Well, it might be an artifact of the camera. Again, I would say like this is already a zoomed in section of the camera, and these cameras that they have on the outside of these rockets, they're probably not like super crazy high quality cameras. They, you know, they have to withstand massive heat and forces from the launch and all that. And obviously it's also streamed, so it's compressed through these internet algorithms that compress the video. But again, it's interesting footage, right? And it seems to be coming, that's also fascinating, right? It seems to be coming from the atmosphere, like it's coming from underneath, flying out into space, right? That's also fascinating. Why would that happen? How could an object gain momentum of flying in an angle like that, away from Earth, out into space? It's not flying alongside the Earth, right? In some kind of orbit or something, so it could be part of a satellite or something. It's not that. So what is it? Also notice that it doesn't change direction, right? It seems to fly in like one linear fashion. So it seems to be something that is like, has been propelled with some kind of force and now just follows that path out into space. Now, again, I think there's a pretty simple explanation for this, and that is that it's most probably either space debris or ice. All right. Now, for example, the plumbing systems, or like the tubes that are on the bottom of these rockets that are basically fueling the engines constantly during the launch, they produce a lot of ice. Okay, they have ice attached to them because there's like liquid nitrogen, all this kind of stuff involved, and it creates little pieces of ice that are attached to the plumbing, which can come off, which can drift off, which can also be propelled because they're using certain smaller engines to navigate through space to correct the course. So that can potentially just have a piece of ice being propelled flying into that direction. And it's a general thing. Whenever there's a rocket launch and rockets fly through space, there's just loads of debris accompanying it. It's a pretty common thing, you know. Sometimes it's like technical debris, sometimes it's like ice just flying alongside it, being propelled off of it. And if you look on the internet, especially when it comes to SpaceX, there's a bunch of examples that you can find. Here's another one, okay? It's a different video, obviously, but it also shows a piece of space debris that seems to fly in a very, very curious angle. And you can kind of see it coming up on the horizon, I think, somewhere here. Oh, there it is. You see it coming, and it gets closer. And a lot of people say, well, hold on a second. It seems to change directions, right? It's not just flying out into space. It seems to change directions. But the truth is, it's not changing directions, because what this piece does is it flies almost in an orbit around Earth, so it's coming towards us. It's probably flying faster than this rocket, so it flies from a position that's closer to Earth towards the rocket and then past the rocket. That's also why the object gets more clearer, right? Like here's really, really washed out, and then notice as it gets closer to us, it becomes clearer and clearer, right? The white dot becomes just more and more visible, and that is because it comes from far away in kind of an orbit around the planet, flying past the rocket. Here's another example, and that's slightly different, but it still underlines my point. So see what they're doing here, right? So they're disconnecting, I don't know what the hell this is, but some kind of capsule, right? So you can see them disconnecting the capsule, I don't know, from the ISS or from the rocket, whatever it was. And you can see on the right-hand side, and the title of this is like, I found a cylinder-shaped UFO in the latest SpaceX launch. Do you see it here on the right-hand side? Now notice, this is basically an object that just flies right off the spot where they are disconnecting the hatch or this capsule or whatever, right? So presumably it's a little piece of debris, a little piece of ice that was just disconnected when they disconnected this capsule, and it flew off in a 90-degree angle. You can see that this so-called cylinder-shaped UFO literally is an extension. If you continue that line, right, that it flies in, is an extension of like literally where they're disconnecting this capsule. My point being, whenever rockets fly through space, and then, for example, the different segments of the rocket get disconnected, right, they use some kind of explosives literally to disconnect the different pieces of the rocket and separate the part that they actually need in space. There's ice, there's debris that's being propelled into space, and that literally floats around, and that's how you get footage like that, like the one we looked at in the beginning, where you get the illusion of a piece of metal, and it could absolutely be a piece of metal flying from the Earth into outer space. And keep in mind, this is a risky thing, okay? Like, depending on how this goes, this could have hit the rocket, right? Potentially it looks at least like it's flying rather close to the rocket, so a piece of debris flying that close to the rocket is definitely not something that SpaceX wants, okay? This poses a high risk, because if that flies or hits like the surface of the rocket itself, that can potentially cause damage, that can really cause problems for a mission like that. And it doesn't even need to be a piece from this particular mission. There's just an enormous amount of space debris that is literally hovering around our planet that can potentially even bounce off the atmosphere, right? That's another thing. Objects of space debris don't necessarily need to go into the atmosphere and then burn up basically as they're re-entering it. No, there is the possibility if they hit it in just the wrong angle or the right angle that they bounce off and get propelled back into space. Like, that's a thing. You can Google that. Some Earth gazers bounce off Earth's upper atmosphere and re-enter our space. Other break up in the atmosphere and streak through the sky as falling stars. So there is a possibility of this being space debris that just bounced off the atmosphere and it wasn't even part of this particular mission. So there's a bunch of options how this could be explained. And the very least of it is aliens. Okay, in my personal opinion, but guys, that's just my opinion. Leave your thoughts again down in the comment section below. I'm curious to hear them. Maybe you disagree with all the points that I made in this video. Absolutely possible. Again, I would be curious to hear your thoughts. And let me say it one more time. I would appreciate if you join our Discord through the link in the description. Share UFO videos with me over there that you want me to explain. The reason why you can't do that so well in the YouTube comments is because they don't allow links. And then people say like, well, can you just debunk the Israel UFO? And then I Google that and I find 200 different options. And it's just very hard to pinpoint the exact one that you mean. So it's way easier to join our Discord. Share the link with me over there. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown, this attempt of explaining some of these UFO videos. If you did, please don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for more. And I hope to see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. I appreciate you watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is the 4th episode, I believe, of us reviewing UFO videos, UAP videos, paranormal, mysterious videos and clips that we find on the internet, trying to make sense of them, explain them, debunk them if we can. Now, these are videos that you guys are sending me, and to be honest with you, it got a little bit out of hand. So I have a bit of a backlog now on clips, so we're not going to be able to look at all clips that you guys have sent me recently, but please don't stop sending them to me. Join the Discord, send me more clips. But let's get into the first video. So the first one is actually an amazing clip. I love this clip so much. It's really, really cool, and it just went viral the last few days ago. It was uploaded initially, I think, in early January, so it's already been floating around for 2 months. But like I said, just in the past few days, it's really exploded. No pun intended. And that is the green beam laser video that I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen already. But let's take a look at the clip.
The street. What the f is that, dude? What? That's it.
Big explosion. Explosion. Holy.
So that's basically the clip. It's a little bit longer. I'll link this tweet down in the description so you can look at it in full length, but there's not much more happening. And I don't know why they overlaid the same footage on the top left here, and it is just the same footage. A lot of people in the replies were like, "Wow, look, there are 3 different angles of it." It's like, no, dude, it's the same film repeated in a slightly smaller form factor and overlaid over the other videos. So there are no other angles of this. And the first thing I notice looking at this is the absolute hideous sound effect that whoever put this together put over this clip, okay? It sounds like the control robots in Westworld. I don't know if you watched this, but listen to the sound effect one more time.
The street. What the f is that, dude? What?
Like, bro, if you want to make a video that has credibility in the UFO field, don't use cheesy sound effects like that. You're just diminishing all the credibility that your clip may have because it's visually very compelling by just adding this ridiculous sound effect. It's a complete joke. But what is it? What could it be? Is it Oprah looking for new land to buy? Could it be someone just playing with their cat, right? Laser pointer, cat. Maybe it's Marjorie Taylor Greene's Jewish space laser. Final evidence. Jewish space laser confirmed. No, but in all honesty, besides the sound effect, which is hideous, they put over it, the second thing I notice is, right after this happens, the second guy that's seemingly in the background of this video is not mentioning it. He talks about, oh, that's a big explosion, right? That's a big explosion. He doesn't say, dude, did you see that giant green laser just now? But if you say, well, that was a big explosion, that's something you would say if there was just the lightning, the thunder and lightning in front of you, and not the green laser, okay? So let's listen to that again and pay attention to the second guy in the background and what he has to say after this incredible, never seen before green space laser has just hit Earth. Okay, let's go one more time.
The street. What the f is that, dude? What? That's it.
Big explosion.
Big explosion. That's a big explosion, bro. It's like, yeah, no, that was a huge light beam, some kind of laser hitting the, like, you might want to mention that and not just say big explosion. That's something you would say if you only saw the thunderbolt and lightning. Okay, so, but people are losing their mind, right? Obviously, everyone on the internet knows everything. Everyone's like, dude, this is a direct energy weapon. Obviously, it's a direct energy weapon. So you get loads of clips of people being like, yeah, it's, you know, this is what it is. Like this guy, for example. I love this guy.
All right, if you guys are wondering what that is the U.S. patented direct energy weapon. This is the aftermath of how it looks, kind of fucked up all over. Another example right here, but what do you notice? So this big direct energy weapon is scared of the color blue.
It's scared of the color blue. It's like the direct energy weapon is like, oh no, it's blue. I'm so terrified. It's such a dumb take, bro. I mean, recently these conspiracy theories have been popping up where like apparently celebrity houses have now painted their roofs blue to protect themselves from these incredible direct energy weapons, which by the way has been debunked. Okay, there's this Reuters article saying the house that survived the Maui wildfires was not owned by celebrities, and if you go through the article, it also specifies that the direct energy weapons are not scared of the color blue. The whole thing doesn't make much sense. Also note how this dude is basically saying it is this direct energy weapon.
All right, if you guys are wondering what that is the U.S. patented direct energy weapon.
That's what it is. Okay, there's no debate about it. There's no back and forth or options. It's definitely that. God, I hate people like that. Now, there's a few things that this enthusiastic young gentleman seems to forget or just intentionally leave out. And that is, for example, that observatories also shoot lasers at the universe. And apparently they're doing this to seed clouds. And there are videos of this going around. This is just from 16, 17 days ago, the middle of February this year. And you can see, you know, laser going up into the clouds, most probably from an observatory. There's a bunch of more images like that. So it's not unusual. However, notice these lasers are going straight up into the sky, okay? And they don't move, they don't scan the landscape or whatever. There's other applications of similar lasers that we see, like for example, I found this clip of green lasers apparently coming from Chinese satellites, and what they do here is they're mapping the terrain using basically ləʻzɑːr technology to scan the terrain from above and create a three-dimensional map of it. To be honest, it's probably not just China. I would assume that other countries are doing similar things, but there's a few things that we notice here as well. Okay, first of all, the lasers, and believe me, those are strong lasers, right? If you send them from, I don't know, satellites or whatever they use to shoot them down at the Earth and try to get a reliable mapping of the environment underneath, you need probably some of the strongest lasers you can get and that you can put into an aircraft or satellite, because obviously limited energy resources and so on. And look how these lasers look. They don't look at all like the other laser. You know, they're interrupted. You only see them where they hit the clouds, which is how lasers work. You know, lasers are not always visible like a long stick. They're only visible when they meet moist in the air, so to say. And again, they are just straight lines, right? These are like straight lines protruding from above onto the Earth. While the laser in this viral clip is moving, right? It's scanning. It seems like it's scanning at least. So it's moving around, which doesn't match the observatory. It doesn't really match like the LiDAR scanning of the environment. So what is it? Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's fake. I think they imposed it. It's an After Effects thing. And the main reason why I think that's what it is not only the hideous sound effect and the dude just saying, oh, well, that was a big explosion, when actually it was just like a crazy space laser hitting the Earth. It is also simply not how lasers work, okay? And there's an amazing channel called Styropyro on YouTube, and you might be familiar with this young fellow. He's really, really successful on YouTube, and he builds laser pointers, giant laser pointers by himself, and he knows a lot about lasers and how they work. And when you look a bit deeper into what he says, not specifically related to this video, but more about laser beams and laser pointers in general, you can get a few insights that kind of contradict what we see in this video. Let's take a look.
And I climbed back up the tower on a foggy evening to test it out. I decided to try out my camera in full spectrum mode, and I was stunned by the result. My camera is only weakly sensitive to this laser's wavelength.
So notice what just happened here, right? So the first clip, this clip is him shooting this laser on a foggy day, okay? So there's already mist in the air. This is not like a clear day with no, you can see it, right? It's a misty day. You don't see the laser at all. Only when it switches to this full spectrum camera mode, then you can see it. And then suddenly it looks very similar to what we see in the viral video, right?
And I was stunned by the result. My camera is only weakly sensitive to this laser's wavelength, yet it still managed to unveil the actual beast at hand. Even without careful focusing, The laser can easily set fire to my fence about 70 meters in the distance.
So I think it's fair to assume that whoever shot this viral video did not use a full spectrum camera. And you can see it, right? In this image in particular, this is not a full spectrum camera mode. You can see the houses look normal. It doesn't have a strong green filter or something like that that sits over the whole image. So I think these are all indicators that this is just a special effect. Like someone made this up, someone created this in the computer. And also at the scale that we see it here, like the amount of energy you would need to create something like this is almost impossible. The brightness, the thickness, you can see these houses are already huge. The beam hits clearly behind the houses, so it would be like what? I mean, it's hard to estimate distance, right, without any point of reference, but like 100 to 300 meters in the distance. That beam would be like what? 10 meters wide, like a 5, 6, 10 meter wide laser beam. Just from a physics point of view, it doesn't make any sense. And then beyond that, to ultimately debunk it, in my personal opinion, there are no other angles. This is the only recording that we have of this incident. And if it had this incredible sound effect that comes straight out of War of the Worlds, I'm sure other people may have noticed it. Other people would have said, did you all hear this crazy sound effect that came from the sky and was accompanied by a giant green laser? None of that exists. As far as I'm aware, this is the only clip and the only witness that we have. And beyond that, we don't know who the source is. It's not that the person who recorded this came forward and said, yes, I saw this, you know, I put my name to it. So all these indicators tell me that it's fake and that someone made it in After Effects. But I mean, it's a cool video nonetheless. I love it. It's straight out of a science fiction film, so good stuff there, but it's not real. Sorry to disappoint you guys. Next video. So this is a classic. You see these floating around. Again, no pun intended. But this is one of these classic cigar-shaped UFOs filmed during the daylight, so we get a fairly good look at it. Let's take a look at the clip.
How f***ing cool is that? I can't even see it right now in person. I'm somehow, oh, there it is. Okay, it's floating towards a cloud. There it is, yeah. It's floating towards a cloud. Uh-oh. And it's gone.
So, unfortunately, this is not stabilized, so it's a quite shaky video, and there's a longer version of it right underneath. I'll link this original tweet down in the description, so you can go check it out yourself, and then you can scroll down, and the actual reply right underneath the first one is like the full 6-minute 40 video. So it's not that this woman just recorded those 20 seconds and then stopped recording, which is always very suspicious and indicates that it's probably fake. But I think she really saw this, okay, and again, there's more footage of it. Now, a few things I noticed that make my alarm bells go off immediately. And that is, it doesn't move or make irrational maneuvers. Okay, this thing just seems to float in the wind. Okay, it moves slowly. It moves with the breeze. At some point, you can see it moving slightly faster. It moves down because it's been hit by the wind. So while it's an intriguing video, and a lot of people are replying and saying, wow, you know, this is really convincing. And it's clearly recorded as it happened on the day. I don't think this is CGI or made in a computer. But if you do a little bit of research, you quite quickly find out what this most likely is, okay? And you can see, I mean, look at this. It has a dark color. It's not a silver object, right? It does reflect the sun over here, but it seems to be a slightly darker color, maybe even black, and that is a perfect match with the Tetco 50 feet long solar balloon that you can purchase for £70.80 on toycentral.uk. Now this is basically an educational toy that illustrates the mechanics of thermodynamics, and you can blow it up. As far as I'm aware, you can fill it with air, and then the sun on a sunny day will heat up the air, and because the balloon is very, very light, it will just lift up and start floating into the air. And I think it is fair to assume that that's what we're seeing here. It ticks all the boxes, right? It moves with the wind. It doesn't do irrational movements. It has about the same length, has about the same color. And in my mind, it's a perfect match, okay? I mean, leave your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. You can let me know what you think about this, but people in the comments and replies about this are really losing their minds. It's like, has anyone offered an explanation? Do we know what this is? Interdimensional beings, angels and demons have been here way before humans, okay? It's demons, bruv. Oh God. Why are we living in this timeline? Let's move on. Okay. That was an easy one. Now, one more, maybe two more. Let's see. Now, this was shared with me not long ago. It was uploaded 18 hours ago. And apparently this happened in Mexico. Has the Mexican UFO saucer been debunked? Has this been debunked? Could we possibly debunk this incredibly believable clip? Let's take a look.
¿Qué
No se
cosa?
mueve.
¿Qué cosa?
Pero ve la luz.
¿Está flotando?
Fuerte y baja.
Pero
¿Ya
está
la viste?
flotando. ¿Qué es eso? Nunca había visto esto así. No, yo tampoco. Es que la luz se mueve. No,
La
no,
luz
no,
se
no, no,
mueve,
no,
pero
no.
los platos no se mueven, mira.
Exacto, ¿ya mira?
Y la luz está más fuerte.
No, 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 no.
Yo me voy porque a mí me da miedo esto. No le encuentro forma, parece un círculo, parece...
Amazing. Love the sound effects, by the way.
¡Está bajando! ¡Ya está bajando!
Oh my god.
¡Ya está bajando!
Everyone's losing their mind, okay? Jesus Christ in heaven, dude. But good news, Daft Punk reunion confirmed, okay? I'm pretty sure it's just a marketing scheme to introduce that Daft Punk are coming back. But I mean, think about it this way, okay? A clip like this, if you have, hypothetically, an alien species that traverses space and potentially folding space and time in order to get through millions of light years to visit us on our planet, right? They have these thousands of years of advanced technology, of maybe even millions of years of like technology that's ahead of us, and they come here and put on a disco light show. Like, just from a common sense point of view, it makes no sense. You know, they arrive hovering over Mexico and they're like, all right, stealth mode off. What's next? They're gonna play some like nice house music tunes that go along with the light show? Is that where we're going here? I mean, maybe that's what aliens love. Maybe they just love a good light show, a disco, and like a nice house music set. Possibly. But in all seriousness, okay, beyond all that, I mean, maybe you noticed that this thing doesn't move at all. It just sits like stationary. It seems to be fixed in one place. And then before we get the second angle, before everyone loses their mind, there's literally a cut, right? You guys noticed that. Right? I mean, and then the lights themselves just literally looked like someone had to play with LEDs. And also, like in the second clip, you can kind of see the structure of it. That looks like, I don't know, some kind of stretched fabric over some kind of frame that someone built. It is not a perfectly smooth surface. Not saying that alien spaceships need to all have like a perfectly smooth surface, but bro, come on, man. We're losing a little bit of credibility here. It really, really looks like someone built a prop, mounted it somewhere above their house, and then got the girls in the neighborhood to scream over it, trying to create a viral video, which kind of worked because we're talking about it here. But someone in the comments replied as well, saying the audio doesn't go with it. I mean, I don't speak Spanish. I assume it's Spanish, but maybe you can confirm or deny that down in the comment section. But they said they're talking about something completely different. So it might even be that this person took the audio from somewhere else and just put it over this clip to go along with it. I don't know, but I can't confirm or deny this. But like, again, someone said this in the comments saying the people talking, they talk about something completely unrelated, it seems like. But I mean, bro, let's be honest. Like, a video like this, it just looks comically stupid. Okay, it just looks ridiculous. And I don't know how anyone can take this serious. But guys, I think that's it for today. I had one more video prepared, but you know what? That one is about the Tether Incident, right? The very, very famous 1996 Tether Incident, I think it was. You know what? I'm probably going to put this in a separate video because that is a big incident. So I'll record this in a minute and put it as a separate video. Otherwise, this one's just getting too long and I'm boring you guys. So if you enjoyed this video, please show it to me by smashing the like button. Maybe leave me a quick comment. It always helps and just shows that you guys are enjoying these videos. It really helps me to be motivated to do more of these. So smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, join our Discord, share your clips with me over there. I'm going to add them to the backlog and eventually we're going to get through all of them. Hopefully, maybe. Let's see. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your time. Have a good day, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out, bye. So guys, this is a video that just focuses on one specific incident, and it all originated from this clip that was sent to me from John Bell on Twitter, and he has more videos like that. Apparently, he spends a lot of time looking into the night sky using this, whatever it is, infrared camera, trying to spot unusual objects, and one object that he spotted can be seen in this video. Let's look at the original clip and then take it from there. So this is an airplane, just for reference, okay? No misunderstanding there, very clearly an airplane. But oh, what is that? Oh my god.
Well, that thing's huge.
That thing is huge, mate.
Went right by it, too.
Oh, there it is. Well, it seems to get smaller.
That was crazy.
Did you notice that? Did you notice that? How, like, when it first popped up next to this plane, it looks humongous, right? It's a humongous dot that's moving through the night sky. And he doesn't seem to move out, right? The camera gets a bit shaky for a second, but it's not that he's like moving in and out significantly. It stays roughly at the same distance or like scale. But now the object is much smaller, okay? And that quite obviously explains what's going on here, okay? It is most probably something that even might be moving close to the camera at a slow pace, and that gets amplified by being slightly out of focus. You know, the lens is struggling to focus on it, and then it becomes like this blurred moving dot, right? Which again would indicate that it's something that's rather close to the lens rather than a satellite that's further away, because then all the other stars would be out of focus as well. That also explains why it seems to change size, right, as the video goes along, because maybe now the lens is trying to focus on it. Now, I don't know what it is. It could be a drone. It could be many things. But what's interesting is that this is very reminiscent of the 1996 Tether Incident. This is a legendary UFO incident that, again, happened in, I think, February 1996. Don't nail me down on this. And in this incident, a tether drifted away. This is a 12-mile long tether, I believe. It's a very, very long device that accidentally drifted away from, I don't know, what was like a space station or whatever. So anyway, it drifted away out into space. And as you can see, they're filming this here with this full spectrum camera. And suddenly you can see all these objects floating around it and seemingly floating behind it as well. Like if you keep watching, you'll see a lot of these objects seem to flow behind it. So keep in mind, you can kind of use this tether, if that is the case that they're behind it, like a ruler, right? So if this thing is 12 miles long, then a lot of the objects you're seeing here would be enormous in size, right? Like this would be like almost a mile long in diameter, these giant circular ships that all seem to fly around. And it almost looks like a microscope view or something, right? You can see all the, like hundreds of them floating around this spaceship. And for the longest time, I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was super credible because this footage comes from NASA, right? And it's like, okay, so what the hell is that? You can see it clearly flying behind the tether. These are huge objects. How you're gonna explain this? Well, there is an explanation for it, and I think it also applies to John Bell's video that we looked at in the beginning. This is from Season 1, Episode 13 of the History Channel's UFO Hunters, okay? And in this particular episode, they focused on this Tether incident. Part of that was the Tether incident. And they created an experiment that replicates the conditions of that specific camera, of that specific circumstance. Obviously, you can't replicate it in space directly, but they're doing an incredible job of explaining how this happened and how this footage came to be. Let's take a quick look.
He has set up a spatial representation of the tether and the windows of the shuttle.
NASA maintains that this is nothing more than ice and debris that's around the ship that's out of focus because this is a telephoto lens. Now, the camera was using a lens, a telephoto lens, which incorporated a mirror. This hole that's in the center of this mirror also leaves an artifact, the same artifact that you see in the discs.
Right, you notice that these discs have the same form factor as this mirror that was sitting around that specific camera. Now check this out.
Light illuminates these objects from behind, and then this light bounces off the mirrored lens.
And you can kind of see it here, right? These are not moving, but this is an out of focus image that uses a similar camera. And immediately you see that anything that's out of focus immediately turns into these huge circular artifacts that have a hole in the middle because they're basically a reflection of the mirror that sits around the camera.
This can be seen by Tyndall's example. He has prepared a small piece of fishing line that is backlit by a green light. However, when the line is passed in front of the camera, it doesn't look like fishing line.
Look at this. Look at this. Do you see this? So he has a piece of fishing line that he just holds in front of the camera. So it's not even a little circular object. It's a little elongated object that's been highlighted with a green laser pointer, as you could see. And because of that mirror that sits around the camera, and it's very close to the camera, it gives the illusion of a circular object with a hole in the middle, and even that little indentation that you could see on all these objects in the famous Tether Incident clip. It's exactly the same. It's a perfect match. And I love that they did this exercise, right? UFO Hunters used to be a show that obviously tries to embrace the whole UFOs, they are here, and the old alien narrative and all that. But I love that they did this experiment because it literally debunks the Tether incident and gives the perfect explanation that you just can't argue with. This is exactly what it is. So it was most probably little pieces of debris and ice that were very close to the camera, floating around the spaceship, and giving the illusion of them being disks that are in the distance. But how come they're behind the tether, right? We still haven't solved that question. Well, let's keep watching.
You see how overexposed the tether is at this point? Even though this is in the foreground, it gives the illusion that it's passing behind.
Right, did you see that? He just showed it, he just gave this example. Even it's in the foreground, but because the tether is so overexposed and so bright and so dominant, it's literally maxing out the light that this camera can receive. That then leads to the illusion of objects being behind it because the brightness of the tether, or the replica of this, dominates anything that sits around it and just overrides basically any object that would float in front of it, and with that giving the optical illusion of it floating in the background behind it, when in fact it is much closer to the camera than the tether itself.
The image on STS-75's camera is overexposed, meaning that objects appear brighter than they actually are. This gives the illusion that they are behind the tether, when they are actually in front.
So absolutely perfect, beautiful debunking here, and all the credit goes to UFO Hunters, and I really appreciate that a show like that usually embraces the whole aliens, they're all here narrative, and just looks at the facts, okay, and it's like, look, let's replicate this, let's create an experiment that tests it, that puts it to the test, and we might not be able to replicate it, but in this particular case, it's a perfect explanation. It's a perfect replica of what we saw on this footage. And I think it also explains John Bell's little post, because it's the same effect. I have to assume it is something that's probably quite close to the camera that then is just out of focus. The camera struggles to focus on it. And again, that's why later in the clip, suddenly it changes the shape, because now the camera is adjusting to it. I don't know what it is, whether it's a drone or another aircraft, or I have no idea what exactly it is, but it most probably is not aliens. All right, so I found like this John Bell clip is a nice way into talk to you guys about the Tether incident, which is again a legendary UFO case. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown. If you did, don't forget to smash the like button. I would appreciate that. Guys, this video was sent to me by someone over on our Discord. You can do the same. Join our Discord through the link in the description. Send me your clips in the DMs, and then I'll add them to the list. And then at some point, if they're good clips, we're gonna look at them in these videos and try to explain them. I hope you enjoyed it. Smash like, subscribe, join the Discord, and I see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. Now guys, this is a little bit of a follow-up video to my Jeremy Corbell video, which I released a few days ago, and if you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description. But luckily, there are loads of people on the internet who watch these videos and who leave very, very useful comments. So the credit of me finding this piece of information that I'm going to talk about in today's video goes to Olglas Bolglas. I'm sorry if I'm shredding your YouTube name, bro. But I'm very, very thankful, because that user left a comment pointing me into a direction of a podcast where the Jellyfish UFO actually gets debunked pretty credibly. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. But before we get into it, I have to make sure that I give the right people credit, okay? All the credit of what I'm going to show you goes to Mark D'Antonio. He's an astronomer. He's host of the Sky Tour Radio on KGRA. He's also the host and the creator of the Sky Tour live stream on YouTube. And he was a guest in the Dead Air podcast. I will link the relevant episode where they speak about all this and reveal the information I'm going to show you guys down in the description. Please go smash a like button, because he's really the guy who broke this information, okay? Now, if you don't know what the Jellyfish UFO is or was, it's a video that was released not that long ago by Jeremy Corbell. He published it, and it shows the footage that you see here, which is a floating unidentified object over a military base in Iraq. It was shot in 2017 or 2018. I've seen conflicting reports about it. People have said that it was only visible through capturing heat signals. Soldiers allegedly said they couldn't see it through night vision or with their naked eye. So this was captured with an MX-20 camera from a balloon. And Jeremy Corbell said in the podcast with Steve O that the reason why he trusted or believed the credibility of this footage is because he has first-hand witness information of a jellyfish UFO going underwater, coming back out, shooting up at a 45-degree angle. And again, here's another a slightly zoomed in and stabilized version of the footage so you get a rough idea of what we're talking about here, right? So you can see there are lots of questions that evolve around it, and I think we'll be able to answer most of them in this video, because in the episode of the Dead Air podcast, Mark D'Antonio said that a collaborator called Tiago from Brazil sent him this. Now this is a celebrative balloon for the Islamic holiday of Eid. And when I looked at the footage for the first time, I mean, you saw my reaction in it when I looked at it in my Jeremy Corbell video. It's like, basically, it really looked like a bunch of balloons drifting through the sky. But I didn't have any evidence of it at the time. But now we have this, okay? And to be honest, it looks pretty much identical, okay? So you have like the kind of moon-shaped balloons that sit up here that protrude from the top. You have the letters dangling from the bottom, so all that lines up perfectly. And keep in mind, it was shot in Iraq, which is obviously a predominantly Islamic country. Also in the video, you saw that it moves at a constant speed. It's not like zigzagging around or something, which also really made it look like it's being carried by the wind. And you might say, well, if it's a bunch of balloons, why are they not flailing around, right? They should be moving. It's like, that's not really how balloons work. If they are stuck together in a cluster and they reach a certain height, they will move as a cluster. They might rotate and spin a little bit. And in fact, in the video, you can see the object spinning around slightly. But if you have a cluster of balloons that is attached to each other like this, then it's pretty clear that they wouldn't flail around all over the place. And that's also the reason, probably, why this wasn't shot down, right? Because people who may have seen it didn't pay much attention to it, because it's a cluster of celebrative balloons. But hold on, you may say. Because military staff allegedly reported that they couldn't see it with their own eyes, right? Even night vision goggles couldn't capture it. Now, obviously, this is something that's harder to debunk because I can't speak for these people, but I found this article that says that the UFO sighted in Iraq was a ghost story at the base, says a former Marine, right? And I haven't been in Iraq, okay? I have not been in the military, but I know people who have, and being in these kinds of military bases, they can often be quite, let's say, boring places. There's not a lot happening, so people tell stories like that to each other. And then, as it happens so often, stories can take a life of their own. And that's where it happens that, you know, I mean, it was in 2017/2018. I couldn't even see it with my own eyes, man, I'm telling you. I looked up in the sky, I couldn't, you know, and then that guy tells it to the next guy and information gets diluted. It's not that we have like serious testimony where soldiers swear that they couldn't see it with their own eyes. It's part of the story. Another aspect to this might be the parallax effect. Now, if you don't know what this is, it means that an object that is filmed through a certain type of lens from quite far away can actually look like it's really fast and low, like this one kind of does, when actually it's pretty high and slow, and it's ultimately a camera effect. There's an amazing video by Mick West about the Go Fast UFO. I'll link that down in the description as well. You should definitely check that out, because he talks a lot about the distortion that the parallax effect can cause and the illusion of something moving really close. In this case, the Go Fast UFO looked like it was actually very close to the water when in fact it was miles above the water. So it's almost an optical illusion caused by the camera lens. So I'm not going to reiterate too long on this, but please check the link in the description to the Mick West video. He breaks it down in a lot of detail, and it's an amazing video. He's doing a lot of great work there. But you still may say, hold on a second. It's changing color, right? We've all seen it. Clearly, it turns black and then it turns white. And this was captured with a heat vision camera. So it must change temperature, right? Balloons don't change. No, that's not right, okay? These cameras adjust the color of what they see based on what's in the background. So just because the object changes color doesn't mean that the object itself changes temperature. It just means that the background temperature adjusts, and that adjusts how the camera displays the object. So again, if you want to dive deeper into this, please go and check out the Dead Air podcast. I'll link it at the very top of the description. Those guys are doing an amazing job breaking it out, better than I could have ever done it. But this is where we go back to the very beginning of the video, okay? And Olgles Bolgles' original comment, who pointed this out to me kindly, and he said, please check out what Mark D'Antonio said a few weeks ago. It makes me mad. The fact that Corbell hasn't immediately come out and said, okay, I effed this up, it is identified, is just infuriating, right? And it is infuriating to me. So far as I'm aware, Jeremy Corbell has not come out and admitted that he messed this one up, which I think would really do it justice. You know, anyone makes a mistake. If you come out and say, okay, right, like, it's pretty clear. Obviously, I hadn't seen this balloon before. It looks very much like that's what it is. You know, I'll do better next time. But we have seen none of that. And I highly doubt that we ever will. That's just my take. But let's see. Okay, guys. So this is my breakdown of debunking Jeremy Corbell's Jellyfish UFO. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think this debunks it? Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think it doesn't. If you want to discuss this, continue the conversation. Join our Discord. Okay, the link to that is down in the description. It's obviously free. Lots of nice people there. I would appreciate to see you. As always, smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel for more. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. So earlier this week, I saw these posts popping up on Twitter, on Reddit, where people were like hyping us up for the ultimate disclosure, okay? Aliens are here. We're gonna see alien bodies. Get ready for it. Stuff has been found in Peru. It's gonna come your way. So I was anticipating it. I'm hyped, okay? That's my kind of story, so I was all ears. I wanted to see the aliens. Now, earlier this week, on Tuesday, one mummified alien body has been revealed. It's been found in Nazca a while back and shown for the first time, and the only website, I don't want to call it a newspaper, because it's really not, but the only website that seems to discuss this, at least with an attempt of seriousness, is the US Sun. Okay, that's obviously, it's a massive tableau paper, but we're going to take what we can get at this point. And they are titling, "No Hoax." No hoax, guys. Never seen before pics of new alien mummies revealed as filmmakers say they have proof they contain unique type of DNA. And we get a picture of the alien body down here. Now this is the what they describe as the 4-foot mummy. Allegedly, there's also a 9-foot tall specimen somewhere. We haven't seen it yet. Jaime Maussan is involved, as you would expect, whenever there are alien bodies to be found anywhere. Jaime Maussan is spearheading the operation. And they have currently scheduled an event that you can join for free. Okay, so you don't have to pay for that, so I give them credit for that. You just have to register, I think, with your email address, and it's going to go down in 3 days and 21 hours, and they're going to reveal, I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to reveal their findings, or they're going to do some live testing? I don't know what it's going to be, but I'll link this website down in the description so you can go check it out yourself and participate and be there when disclosure hits humanity. And we're finding out that it's most probably not aliens. But let's read what they have to say and who the people who found this are. Now here we have filmmaker Serena DC and Michael Marzola, and they are pictured with their mummy that they found. And it does look like something that's mummified. It could also be just like a hobby project that someone did. We don't know at this point. We also get this X-ray image here of the hand, the 3-fingered hand, because that's like the iconic trademark of these mummies, right? They have 3 fingers, which is just all the evidence I really need. And we get another picture that, oh, yeah, okay, so I have a hard time focusing on the alien in this picture, but my question really is, why is it 2 filmmakers finding this? Shouldn't it be some kind of archaeologists or scientists or someone who puts this forward? Well, anyway, it's those 2 filmmakers, and especially the X-ray has UFO Twitter up in arms. Okay, everyone is already convinced it's aliens. So here we have Robin saying, I give you 3 very good reasons why everyone on UFO Twitter should really be paying attention to the catastrophic disclosure taking place in Peru right now. 3. It's a magic number. Okay, showing the X-ray. And then we have a radiologist replying underneath saying, it's clearly human. The digits shown are the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ray, okay, which describes the fingers, and the 1st and 5th ray have been resected. Just shows that this Peru stuff is garbage. And to that I say, how do you know that? You're just a radiologist. You're just looking at X-rays all day long. How could you possibly judge this X-ray better than Robin, who's a science fiction fan, and he's got questions. He's also a theoretical ufologist and has UFO emojis in his Twitter bio, okay? So how come a radiologist... Anyway, so what I also loved about this whole thing is that underneath here, Serena and Michael, who are currently on a mission to demystify the reports and claims about the bodies, which have already been branded fakes by Peruvian officials, and they've already been called simply dolls made for tourists in various media reports. But Serena and Michael are on a mission to demystify that and to really make clear that this is not just a doll that's made for tourists. It's much more than that. And they say, we went to Peru with very little hope and expectation. And I'm reading it as it says it here, right? And we've come back realizing, as intelligent, rational people, realizing that there's a big story that has huge implications that could really just change the humanity story, says Serena. It's akin to finding Jesus' shroud or the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, so you guys just have to realize the implications of this, bro. This is huge. It's a huge thing. Nobody cares. Everyone kind of laughs at it. I'm not, obviously, but people just really struggle to take it serious. And from the further comments from Serena and David, it sounds a little bit like they're already getting bitter. I don't know, because here it says, maybe we don't know our whole story. And then the other half is, why the F are people trying to shut this down? Why is that happening? She continued. The discovery has been unfairly discredited, mostly by people too lazy to do even the most superficial investigation into the facts. This isn't about Jaime's credibility, or, well, it kind of is, right? But we get to that in a minute. The validity or lack thereof, these remarkable specimens will be determined by the science. The data coming out of Peru is extremely compelling and deserves to be replicated by scientists willing to do actual science instead of playing PR games, okay? And while Serena and Michael now feel that these figures may not be extraterrestrials, they are over 1,000 years old according to initial DNA testing. And Boffins has told them that the DNA is 30% unknown, with clear indications of genetic manipulation. Serena reacted, who had the ability to do genetic engineering 1,000 years ago? Oh my god, so it might not be alien, but it's definitely something that has been genetically engineered 1,000 years ago. And while they're not saying that they found extraterrestrials, they do believe they found a new specimen, and we need to do DNA testing to work out where it's from. Again, I'll link this article, if you want to call it an article, down in the description. You can read up on it yourself. There are a few more funny comments. I'm going to read all of them to you. But, I mean, the big question is, this is potentially world-shattering information, right? This could change the course of humanity. So why in God's name is nobody caring about this? Why does nobody take this serious, right? Like Serena, what's her name? Serena DC? Serena DC. Why nobody take it serious? I don't understand. Well, let me give you a hint there, Serena. Why maybe, possibly, nobody's taking this serious. For example, in September 2023, late last year, you may remember, the same guy that you're partnering with to put this out there, Jaime Maussan, already confidently presented 2 alleged alien mummies at a Mexican congressional hearing. And if you scroll down far enough, here you see Jaime Maussan, and you get a picture of the actual alleged alien bodies that were presented late last year. Here they are in their little silk coffins. And I love, by the way, that they put a little dress on one of the aliens. I don't know if this is like a Mexican thing or what implications that dress has. I just think it's a great idea. If you want your scientific specimen to have more credibility, put a dress like that on it. That really adds. Okay, it really works. However, when they were researched and when they did DNA testing and they did x-rays, they found out that they were not actually aliens, but instead they were just kind of cobbled together from animal bones and other potentially human bones that were just like cut off and assembled to look like something that may have lived at some point. But if you have any knowledge about anatomy, you look at this and you're like, yeah, none of this makes any sense, right? This creature would not even be able to stand with that skeleton. Clearly someone puzzled this together to create the illusion of an alien creature. So that was a huge fake. Okay, then in 2015, Jaime Maussan also presented another 3-fingered mummified alien, allegedly, also found in Nazca. Huge story, unbelievable find, revolutionizing humanity and everything, and it turns out it was just the mummy of a child. Okay, it's like, don't know why it had 3 fingers, whether they were like severed or whether it was like a disfigurement or whatever it was, we don't know, but DNA testing has proven it was just a human child, while they totally tried to sell it to us as most probably being alien. And then in 2013, you may remember this as well, the Atacama humanoid creature that was not presented by Jaime Maussan, but instead by another incredibly reliable source, which is Stephen Greer. And he presented this in one of his mystery-mongering UFO films called Sirius. And again, like this, I mean, most likely, we haven't done the tests yet, but most likely alien, guys, okay? The tests are underway, okay? We're gonna find out very soon, but I mean, I can already now confidently say most probably alien, because it's a very small creature, and how could anything that's human, well, in the end, it turns out they did DNA testing, and it was just a girl that most likely has been stillborn or have died right after birth, and it had devastating mutations, so that's why it looked that way. But yeah, so you can see why people are skeptical towards this stuff, because at this point there's a pattern. Over and over again, they find something they can't explain, then they jump to conclusions. Oh, it has 30% unknown DNA and most probably genetically manipulated, and soon we're gonna find out. And then when we find out, every single time it's a disappointment, and it just proves that these guys have no scientific standards. If you find these creatures, right, these new mummified bodies, whatever they are, then why don't you do the testing first? Why don't you take them behind the scenes, keep this under wraps, do the testing, confirm what it is with 100% certainty and scientific paperwork, and then come forward and present it. And don't give us these half-assed jobs, which really just diminish your credibility. At this point, whenever they find some kind of mummified body anywhere that has 3 fingers, there is just no credibility left. And if then also Jaime Maussan is involved, I mean, dude, it's game over. Okay, there's nothing left of it. So yes, we're going to get an amazing event in 3 days and 20 hours and 23 minutes from now. It's going to be epic. I'm probably not going to watch it because I don't need to watch Jaime Maussan telling me that they actually found out it's just a human being that's mummified. That was probably disfigured. But guys, I want to hear your take on this. Do you still think this might be something extraterrestrial? Do you think it's some genetically manipulated ancient human being? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'm genuinely curious to hear them. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown. If you did, don't forget to subscribe for more and smash the like button. That would be much appreciated. Also, consider joining our Discord. That's where you can discuss paranormal findings, alien mummies, and other UFO stories with like-minded people. The link to that is in the description. It's free, obviously, and I'm hanging out there as well. So I would hope to meet you on the Discord, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. This is episode 6 of this show in which we explain and try to debunk UFO clips that you guys sent me over on our Discord, and you can do that too. Join our Discord through the link in the description. The show still doesn't have a name, and I'm desperately hoping to find one that works because UFOs Debunked is just really not a good name. So if you've got any clever puns or names that we could use for this show, then please drop those down in the comment section as well. I would appreciate to hear your thoughts on the clips, on what I'm talking about, and get potential name suggestions for this show. Now, I have 3 clips prepared for you guys today that are quite interesting. Some are harder to debunk than others, and the first clip, we're going to jump right into it, is from my home country. And it's funny because we had a conversation over on our Discord the other day, and someone said, why are there never UFO sightings in Germany? We never get the UFOs into Germany. And it's like, well, here's a clip from Germany. It was recorded over Kassel, over a playground. And I mean, slightly creepy, right? Like the creepy German aliens scoping out those playgrounds. I mean, what the hell is wrong with that? That's barely legal. But we're going to check it out anyway. So here it is. Let's take a look. It is 37 seconds in length. Let's give it a go.
Macht es Spaß? Ja.
Hey, wie kann man da wieder runter?
Weiß nicht. Was ist denn das? Hä? Was war das?
What was das? So, looks very convincing at first glance, right? You look at this, you're like, yeah, well, you know, I'd buy that for $1. But, I mean, there are a few red flags that I want to point out to you guys. Obviously, I don't know. It might be real. It might be aliens. But first of all, his reaction is delayed, right? When he first sees the craft, he films it for like a second or 2 or 3, and then he's like, was ist denn das? What's that? Right? And also, his surprise is like just badly acted. If you would see that thing in the sky, you'd be like, good Lord, what am I looking at? It would literally blow your mind. But he's like, was isn't this? Almost bored. Check this out and check the delay until he responds to this alleged aircraft.
Was ist denn das?
Almost 4 seconds. What is that? What is that? Okay. So that's the first red flag where I'm like, I'm not really buying it, okay? Second point that stood out to me is that in the beginning of the clip, and there is like a shorter version of this clip floating around on Reddit, for example, where the beginning with the kid on the playground is edited out. But in this version, you can see the kid and you can notice that he pixelated the face of the kid, which makes a lot of sense. I would do the same thing. But you notice that the motion of that pixelation is tracked, auto-tracked to the objects around it, right? So when he moves the camera, notice how the pixelation stays in place, right? It moves. And that tells me that not only has the film been edited, right? This is not like raw footage that he uploaded from his phone or from his camera. This has been edited in some kind of software at some point, whether it was just edited to pixelate the face of the kid or other editing has happened. Hard to say, but it tells me that he knows how to use After Effects or some equivalent software, and he knows how to edit stuff and track objects to other relative objects in a film. So that's not good, okay? And then the third red flag that I noticed is at some point in the beginning of the clip, the tracking seems slightly off. right? Do you see it right here? Do you see it here? When it's a bit tricky to see if you have an untrained eye for this kind of CGI stuff. But there's a moment where he films slightly to the right and then he films to the left. Notice this pole then going to the right-hand side because he films to the left. And when he moves to the right, it seems like the object gets slightly floaty for a second. It doesn't follow the trajectory that your eye would assume. There it is. There it is. Do you see this? It almost seems to do a little jump in the air, right? It goes up and down, and that is simply because the tracking is just not that perfect and not really so well aligned with the camera movement, because this is tricky stuff to get perfectly right? If you want to have an object perfectly aligned with these objects in the film, it's not a very, very easy thing to achieve to get it really to look perfect. Then also, another red flag is that he doesn't keep this object in the sky in the center of his camera. You can see that in the beginning of it, it's coming from the top left-hand corner, right? That's kind of perfect. It perfectly sits in frame and it's like, oh, okay. But then the problem is the object obviously follows its trajectory and that's not really aligned with his camera movement. So it really gets very, very close to the lower bottom of the screen of his camera. And the reason for that is because most probably he just filmed a piece of blue sky and then tracked the object in later on. And in the beginning, it's perfectly in frame, but then it just follows the line that he designed for it, and then it kind of goes out of frame because obviously he filmed it first and then later tried to match the object into that footage, and by that, you know, he couldn't readjust it and the object kind of awkwardly gets to the bottom of the screen there and it just kind of looks off. And on top of that, like, why did he not shoot a longer video? If you see something like that floating through the sky, I mean, at least move to the left side of this playground. Like, go to that side, see if you can keep it in camera for a few more seconds just to see what's going on. But he's like, oh, what's this? Oh, wow. So I'm not convinced. Too many red flags for me personally. I think it's CGI. However, this clip has also been posted on the Aliens and UFOs subreddit just a few days ago, 2 days ago. And in there, people are speculating that it might be the TR-3B. And I wasn't aware of that. Apparently, the TR-3B is an alleged surveillance plane of the United States Air Force, speculated to have been developed under a black project and tested in Area 51 and all that. It's supposedly a supersonic stealth spy plane with a triangular design, and there's even a little clip that I found where you can see this jet plane landing on an aircraft carrier, and there it is. Oh my God, look at it. It is so top secret that they're actually just showing it to us on an aircraft carrier on deck, so we can all get a nice close look at it. I'm not gonna lie. This looks like complete garbage. It looks like really, really bad CGI. I don't know if this particular clip is real, but it really doesn't look good to me. Okay, so I doubt that this is the TR-3B. Not to say that his CGI footage is not inspired by the TR-3B. Maybe this German dude did the research and he then decided to design his CGI craft based on who knows? Who knows what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's CGI. But leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you buy it? Do you think it's real? Do you think the red flags I raised are stupid? Curious to hear your thoughts. Next video. So this one is a puzzling one, and I can't really debunk this for sure. But I have a few theories that I want to put forward, and I'm curious again to hear your thoughts on this. Leave your thoughts down in the comments, because it is a little bit of a mysterious one. It's a 26-second long clip. We're going to look at it first and then discuss. Let's take a look.
Dude, are you seeing that?
Wow,
You seen that?
wow, man. What's that?
I have no idea.
What? Are we being attacked?
It's okay.
Yeah, you have to post this thing.
For real.
Guys, the Ugandans, man.
So I can't really make out what he's saying there towards the end of the clip. Oh, we get ominous music in the end, as we always get with these clips. But there's a few things I noticed, okay? First and foremost, apparently this has been called the skeleton key UFO because it does look a little bit like a key, right? If you look at the shape itself. Also, you can notice that objects are whooshing by, right? So there's a hill, there's a mountain kind of in the beginning, right? Some kind of hill that it flies over in the distance, off in the distance. And you can tell that it's in the distance because whatever the object is, it's darker than the hill, and that means that presumably the hill is further in the distance, because like objects that are further in the distance due to the atmosphere just have like a lighter color and have more blue mixed into them. And then there's a bunch of other towers. I don't know what exactly they are. You see them whizzing by, which seems to indicate that this object moves from the left side of the screen to the right? It moves in that trajectory, flying past it. However, that is not necessarily true. Because if you hear the sound, and I'm not going to play it again because it's horrible sound, but you heard it, it sounds like these dudes are driving in a car. You can literally hear the car noises in the background. You can hear the wind in the microphone of the recording. So if they are driving in a car, it is absolutely possible that this object actually is stationary, but they are moving past it, and that gives the illusion, due to the parallax effect, that it is moving. I don't know that. I'm just speculating, reading from the footage, but it might be that this is not actually moving at all. And people in the comments on Reddit are speculating whether it's Anakin's pod racer, right? It might be Anakin's pod racer. It's working! But the other thing I notice looking at this is that the object is mirrored. It seems to have a clear line that goes through the middle, and it's mirrored. And if this would be, let's say, some kind of jet plane, it wouldn't be mirrored, right? Because then it would need to fly at a 90-degree angle, facing the camera in a way that the camera looks at it from the top down, if that makes sense. However, there is an object that I found that is pretty close to that. Okay, I wouldn't say it's like 100% debunk and explanation, but I found this Superman RC plane, and there are more examples of this, right? And it obviously, due to the hands and the shape of it, has this shape. So check out this picture here, for example, right? Do you see this shape? The two legs, the two arms spreading out, and now look at this shape again. It's not 100% match, but there was a time where people would be building these. And like I said, there's not just Superman. Like, it was a thing. People were using drones, basically, build this kind of cardboard construction around it, and then fly them around. And you might possibly get the illusion of something like this, looking the way it does here, when actually it is just some kind of cardboard shape built around a drone. And I mean, there are other examples as well. People were building like Millennium Falcons and literally Anakin's pod racer and stuff. So it literally could just be a drone with some structure around it. That is one possible explanation. The other explanation I can think of is that there are these Fata Morganas that you not only get in deserts, you get them in deserts, but you also get them on the sea, okay? And they create this illusion of objects actually floating above sea level, and I'm sure you've seen some of these, and then giving the illusion that the object is actually not attached to the ground, floating above it. Now, this effect is basically an optical illusion, which is a meteorological phenomenon called temperature inversion, which apparently occurs when warm air sits on top of a band of cold air, playing havoc to our visual perception, right? This is an example that occurred on the coast of England, in Cornwall. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And then on top of that, because it is a mirage, you do get mirrored effects in specific circumstances where it looks a little bit like that, where then the objects, I mean, it's not the same object shape that you have here, but you can kind of get the idea. It's probably some kind of boat or island or an object that's in the really far distance, so you can't even make out any details of it. It is just like a black or dark blue in shape in this particular case, that you can see in the very distance, and same with this one, right? It's a boat, but it's mirrored, so it gives you this mirrored effect, plus the effect that it sits above sea level. And I think especially looking at an image like that, and then looking at the reference footage again, I'm not saying it's a perfect match, but I think these are two likely explanations that just really are more likely than aliens floating around in Anakin's pod racer. But again, let me know your thoughts. These are my best attempts to explain what we see here. It might be something completely different. Some people were suggesting, you can buy these jellyfish kites, as it might be a kite as well. But I think it raises a lot of red flags and questions that steer us away from it being aliens. Anyway, moving on. The last clip I have for you guys today is my favorite one. Okay, I love this clip. We're going to watch it in its entirety. It's only 13 seconds long. I don't think it comes with sound, but please strap in for this one. It's incredible. It's called "Amateur Astronomer Reportedly Captures a Spacecraft Entering the Moon via Crater." Hollow moon, bro. Okay? Hollow moon confirmed. Check it out. Damn, bro. Check it out. And not only is it entering the hollow moon, then the crater, bro, it's closing. Do you see that? Damn. So I love this clip, right? I mean, this is so cool. The idea that we have these giant craters. And like, don't get me wrong. These craters on the moon would be huge. If you can film them like this from Earth, it must be, I don't know. I mean, don't let me lie, but like 50 to 100 kilometers or something in diameter. This is the huge, huge crater. But it opens within a few seconds and then closes again. And this UFO just flies right into it. Perfect. Absolute gold, okay? However, unfortunately, I'm afraid I have to debunk this for you guys, and this is a pretty easy debunk for a few reasons. First of all, I want you to check out the top right-hand corner of this crater. Just look at this spot as I'm playing this clip again. Look at it. Boink, boink, boink. It's bouncing. Do you see that? Boom, boom, boom. I mean, the dude could have at least put some music under it that matches the bounce, but that's not normal. I don't think it's supposed to be that way. Also, please take a close look at the shadow, okay? Just look at the shadow that it has as it floats in. Now, what's going on there in the end? The shadow just disappears. Do you see that? The shadow is not like cutting off as the object goes in and it like with a sharp edge just disappears, matching the object. It just fades out. Do you see that? Let's look at that again. Shadow there, shadow dark. And it just fades out, right? It's not even completely gone. There is still half of the shadow on the crater side, and then it just fades away. So whoever did this, unfortunately, did a terrible job in matching the shadow and to the object. Like, that's a disaster. That really gives it away. I would have hoped that he puts a bit more effort into the shadow, because I love that clip. I think it's really, really cool, but that really destroys it. And then the third point that stood out to me is the atmospheric distortion, because obviously if you're filming from Earth, you have to film through the Earth's atmosphere, so you get like the distortion of the atmosphere, which he's nicely trying to emulate here, right? Like everything kind of ripples, but atmospheric distortions don't ripple at a constant rhythmic pace, which we can clearly see here. It is much more irregular if you look at other examples of this, and that tells me that most probably what we see here is him using what you call a noise map in a 3D software, whether it's Blender or 3D Max or Cinema 4D or whatever. You have these noise maps that are built in, and they ripple. You use them for water, for example, right? And they ripple at a very constant rhythmic pace. And I think that's what we see here. So he screwed up the shadow, he screwed up the noise map, and he kind of screwed a lot of things up. But the basic idea is great. Like, I love the idea of this huge crater opening up, like some kind of hatch, and then this giant UFO just flying into it. I love it. So I think this one is an easy debunk. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, it's not real, but that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown of those 3 clips. Again, if you have other clips you want me to look at that are on par with these incredible pieces of footage, then send them to me over on our Discord. The link's in the description. I'm hanging out there. It's of course free to join. You can discuss UFOs amongst many other things. I would love to hear from you over there. Share your thoughts in the comments, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and I see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. It's good to be back. We're going to look at more UFO videos today. Try to debunk them, explain them, as we always do on this show. Housekeeping first. I know what you guys are thinking. He's like, wait, I saw all these videos on your feed about rooster teeth. I don't know what a rooster teeth is. This seemed really weird. I thought you're doing UFO videos. Now, let me be clear. I've been covering this company for the past, what feels like 100 years. The company has just collapsed. I just have to cover it on this channel. Okay, so please, if you want to see UFO debunking videos and paranormal content like this, then just skip those. Okay, whenever you see a video from me that's about rooster teeth, just skip it. Just move along, move along. There will be much more UFO debunking content coming your way. I just shared a channel update video on this channel that gives you a little bit more context of where I'm going, because I know there was confusion. You guys left me comments saying like, dude, what's going on? What, you know, who are you? What are you doing? So hopefully this channel update video I just uploaded gives a bit more clarity. But if you're not watching it, be reassured, there will be much more UFO and paranormal debunking content coming your way on this channel. I'm doubling down on it, all right? Anyway, let's get into today's videos. So the first video that we're going to talk about is a classic, okay? It happened a bunch of years ago, and I really love it. Again, it was shared to me by our beloved Discord community, and that's where you can share your clips with me as well. Obviously, the person who shared this with me is not the person who recorded the original clip, but it is the San Diego sphere. And this is a clip that I see every other month, every other year being reposted on Reddit, and all the UFO believers, they all lose their mind. They're like, oh my God, irrefutable evidence. This is the ultimate evidence that aliens are real. Okay, so I've got the clip here. It is fairly high res. Apparently, this video is only 1080p, but apparently it is available in 4K. But looking at it, and it's a 12-minute video, so we don't need to look at the whole thing. I'll link it down in the description just in case you want to see the whole video from beginning to end, but it doesn't change much. You just see this kind of circular silver-esque sphere hovering in the sky. It has these 3 rods protruding from it. You see it's kind of spinning there. Did you see that? It's spinning around, but it doesn't do any physics-defying irrational movement, right? Like it's not zigzagging around. Basically, what you see here is exactly what it is. The camera's moving around. It bobs up and down every now and then, but there's not much more happening. But besides that, it's pretty convincing footage, right? Because again, it's 12 minutes long. It's definitely real. It's a real object in the sky. Someone filmed this. I don't think you can make a point and say this is CGI. You could fake it, but you know, you wouldn't render out a 12-minute video that looks like that. It doesn't make so much sense if it would be faked. So the assumption that this is a real object that someone actually filmed in the sky, I think, is a fair one. However, there's a few things that I'd notice straight away. I mean, you know me if you watch my videos. Whenever something just kind of sits stationary or hovers very slowly, so it looks like it's carried with the wind, my alarm bells go off. So I was skeptical from the beginning. However, you get this image that is cleared up and sharpened a little bit on Reddit, and you get a lot of detail, right? You can really see it's like a silver ball. However, it's not perfectly spherical, right? You have to notice this. Check this out. It has kind of an eggy, that's not a word, right? An eggy shape to it. It has these 3 rods protruding from it into these 3 different directions. It looks metallic, right? So it has some irregularities on it. It seems to have some kind of scratches almost, and almost somewhat of a grimy texture to it. However, looking at it that close, I also noticed a bunch of other things. Like, for example, it seems like you can see a seam over here. Do you see this? We can't really tell this 100%, but there seems to be like a seam going across here, and even up here, do you see this? There seems to be a seam going to the top, which doesn't necessarily debunk it, right? It might be a metallic silver steel object or whatever that just has, like, it's made up from several pieces, so there are seams in between those pieces. That is possible, but it kind of made me skeptical. Also, I noticed that what you may call portholes, right, these black holes that go around the center of the sphere, are not perfectly symmetrical or aligned, right? You see some of them are slightly bigger, some of them are slightly wider. It seems like this one is clearly thinner than this one. They are not perfectly symmetrical, which you would expect. If this would be an alien spacecraft that hovers in the sky, surely all of these portholes would be perfectly aligned and exactly symmetrical, which is clearly not the case here. So I looked a little bit deeper and I found a stabilized version of part of the original footage, and I think looking at that gives away what it is in an irrefutable way. Let's take a look. This is just a 7-second clip, and again, it's been stabilized. So let's take a look. So unfortunately, this is not the sharpest, crispest version, but I think due to the camera movement, you get like the slight blurriness in the footage because of the camera moving. But I mean, look at this. Okay, this shows you what it is. This is a tethered balloon that is clearly tethered, at least on the bottom, where this rod sits, and it's bouncing around on the tether. You could see it reaching the maximum point, then bouncing back slightly, then it spins around in the wind with the tether underneath. I mean, this is 100% clearly a tethered balloon. And then going back to this sharp image, you can actually see what looks like the small, like a valve, or where the balloon has been closed down here. Do you see this? And this might be an irregularity. It might also be that the rod itself is basically the tether. So the tether is attached where the rod is. And whoever did this just wrapped some material around the first meter of that tether. So it looks like a rod, which then makes me think, is this a 3-pointed tethered balloon? So that's why you have 3 rods, right? So there are basically 3 wires going into each direction, holding into place. I don't know, this is just me theorizing, but I think based on this footage, it is pretty clear that at least the bottom rod is attached to that tether and just gives the illusion of being a rod when actually it is just like the first meter of that tether. So that's pretty clear. Also, you can find balloons like that. You can buy them surprisingly expensive, $325 for a 10-foot silver vinyl advertising balloon, which has similar seams, right? You see those seams going on here. Coming back to that, I don't know, man. But this balloon here looks slightly more weathered. It looks like someone went to work on it. And it really raises the question of, why would someone do this? What's the reason of someone putting the effort in? Because that all really looks like it's an intentional hoax. Right? So someone bought this balloon, weathered it up, stuck those portholes on it, which, by the way, I think look a lot like duct tape. Okay, like someone just took stripes of duct tape and put it all around. Wait a second, what's going on here? What's going on here? Do you see that stripe? Why is my camera doing that? Anyway, so it does beg the question, why would someone do that? And I think I may have the answer to that. I found this comment under the stabilized footage on Reddit. I can't verify whether that is true. I tried to find references to this. I couldn't, but let's read it. So Just Browsing 2024 says, I live in San Diego and remember when this happened, it was all over the local news. There was one guy in Cardiff or Carlsbad Beach area that fought with his neighbors about property rights or something like that, so he started flying balloons above his house just to show them they didn't own the sky above him. He would change the balloons every week to look like different things. This one was his UFO balloon. I tried to find articles about him online, but I can't. And I also Googled up on it. I couldn't find any reference to it, but that to me makes perfect sense. That gives the guy reason to do that. That makes it a real object in the sky. That makes it look like a tethered balloon. That makes it, bounce around like it did. It explains kind of everything. Now, I think it's fair to assume it's a balloon. I think that already debunks it. It's pretty clear from the stabilized footage. I can't confirm whether this story particularly is true, unfortunately, but I think it's a nice add-on that really makes sense. And if you're from the San Diego area, you may remember this. It's a bunch of years back now, but let me know down in the comments if you read about this. And maybe together we can find a reference somewhere online that confirms or denies this story. So that's the San Diego sphere debunked. Next video. So this video has been floating around Twitter for the past week. I've seen it reposted a bunch of times. I haven't seen it on Reddit that much, but it's been all over Twitter, okay? And people have been losing their minds over it because obviously big triangular UFO. People always lose their minds when they see triangles in the sky. So let's take a look. It is only a 20-second clip and it's not bad footage. It's pretty impressive when you first look at it. And let me know down in the comments if you spot anything upon the first viewing that hits your eye. It doesn't have any sound, okay, which is already makes it a bit questionable, but check it out. Okay, so it's got these 3 big lights seemingly glowing. I don't know, they kind of look like engines or something, right? Like engines that burst loads of energy out on the bottom. And that's basically it. So we see the triangular UFO coming from the right-hand side, flying past this, what seems to be a lamppost or something, past this, I don't know, is that a hill in the background, and then coming to a stop, right? So it has a little bit of momentum coming from the right-hand side. But then next to this, let's just say it's a hill, this outline of a hill, it stops, right? You can see it's stopping. And that's where I was like, wait a second, bro. Wait a second. Did you guys see that? So as I said, it comes from the right-hand side. It has a little bit of momentum, and now it stops. But notice what it does before it stops, right? Look very closely. The nose is kind of down, right? Now it stops. It pulls the nose up. It leans backwards to stop. And it's like, I don't know if aliens haven't figured this out, if they're hovering that slow through the air, how they can stop their aircraft without like leaning backwards. Because you got to think about like what aerial vehicle leans backwards when it has to stop. A drone. Okay, it's a drone. If you've ever seen a drone flying with a little bit of momentum, if you want that drone to go slower, it kind of does this. And then it stops, right? So it's exactly the movement of a drone. Let's look at it again. So here you go. Actually, you can see in the beginning, it's leaning forward a little bit. It's pushing the nose down, right? Which is also in keeping with it being a drone. Obviously not all the way down, then it would be going too slow. But then it stops, right? Like, check it out. And there it pulls the nose up. And it comes to a full stop. It actually needs a second, like drones do, like a second. And now it stops. And then it goes straight again. So, it might be a drone, but I have a second theory, actually, that might even be slightly more convincing. If you look at this footage, close up, and frame by frame, at frame 18, like towards the end, let's look at this. You can see the camera kind of getting a bit irrational there, right? Like in the end, it just moves irrationally around all over the place. There. Okay, so I don't know. So I think how it looks to me, like if we go frame by frame, look, UFO's here. UFO is here, and then the UFO is gone. Like, it's just not there. There's one frame around, around second 18 of this clip where the UFO is just gone, and you can kind of still see the hill down here, but the UFO has just disappeared, okay? So that makes me think that this is... And afterwards, you see the palm tree, right? In fact, the camera zooms out a bit, and you get a better picture. So there's the hill or whatever that is in the distance. Unless this UFO sits exactly behind this black dark spot here behind the palm tree so we can't see it. It's just weird because you would see some of it shining through the trees here with the bright glowing red lights, or maybe a little bit of it here. You see nothing. So at second 18, the UFO seems to just disappear. It just goes away, which tells me it's probably CGI. So it's either a drone based on the movement, or it's CGI. There's also a point to be made about the crispness of this, right? If you compare how crisp the outlines are of this aircraft and compare that to the crispness, that's not a word, of the outline of that hill in the distance, and even of the outline of this lamppost or whatever it is in the front, it just, for some reason, it just doesn't really match. So I'm leaning slightly more towards CGI, and what seems to support that as well is that it's only an 18-second clip. Like, if you would see this thing flying in front of you in the sky and it's real, like even it's a military, whatever, covert project, surely you would do anything to keep your camera on that thing for as long as you can to capture it. But like, no, I've recorded 18 seconds of it now. Let me shut my camera down. Like, it's the whole thing doesn't make sense. And if you go down to the comments in any of these posts these days, you get a beautiful illustration of the gullibility of the believer UFO community, because everyone is like, there's a TR3B, bro. This is just clearly TR3B, bro. I mean, everyone knows the variant of a TR3B, right? Everyone knows that. And that kind of stuff just makes my brain melt, I swear to God. These people are so dumb, man. I'm sorry. I mean, this is one of the big reasons why I'm doing this series and why I keep doing it. So the TR-3B is like this supposed alleged secret government stealth aircraft that they're working on, that some people say use spec-engineered UFO technology, or it might just be a stealth craft. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but these people comment with the confidence of someone who works on like secret behind-the-scenes government projects, black projects, right? They're like, well, it's clearly a TR-3B, bro. I know this because I watched a documentary. And it's like, dude, you don't even know how dumb this is, what you're saying right now. No civilian knows for sure whether this project is even real. It's a top secret project, right? And on top of that, I mean, to get footage like that of a top secret project hovering through some kind of desert or whatever that is, dude, you just wouldn't get it, man. The US government, if they have a secret triangular back-engineered UFO technology stealth craft, they wouldn't fly it like that through the desert. It makes no sense, dude. They would fly it somewhere up in the stratosphere over enemy territory and land it at 4 in the morning so nobody ever gets footage of it, okay? That's the idea of a top secret project. And that these people do not have the critical thinking skills to just say, dude, this makes no sense. I know there are rumors out there that this TR-3B thing exists. It might be something, but the confidence with which they come into these comment sections and they're like, oh, it's definitely TR-3B, makes my brain melt, dude. The stupidity of these people is bigger than the likeliness of aliens ever having landed on this freaking planet, okay? Jesus Christ, man. Drives me mad. Anyway, so I can confidently say that whether it's CGI or whether it's a drone, this triangular UFO clip has been debunked. I think we've done it. We've done it again, boys. High five. Next clip. So the next clip is, well, it won't take as long. Okay, we're gonna fly through this. But I wanted to share this with you guys because it's almost cute. It shows how easily something that at first blows your mind sometimes can be debunked. Okay, so let's take a look at this clip. Does it need audio? It does. Let's go. Holy moly. Okay, so all you hear is the engine of this truck that this guy's driving. But like, check it out again without audio. Wow, do you see that? Oh my God, this is incredible footage, isn't it? Look at the speed with which it like zips across the sky. Good Lord, that must be light speed. And I'm not gonna lie, first time I saw this, I was like, hold on, that's a bit strange, right? That's like a strange clip. Well, any ideas what it might be? Maybe you are smarter than I am because it took me a minute to figure it out, but it's probably the easiest to debunk clip I've ever featured in this show. It is, drum roll. Can someone put a drum roll? A vape stick. It's a vape stick. It's a reflection in the front mirror or the front glass of this truck. Check it out again. Dude's pulling the vape and you can actually see his freaking face. You see his face, you see his hand here, you see his nose. He's vaping and then he puts it down, and that's why you get this effect of it zipping across the sky. And by chance, it just stops exactly above the horizon line. So again, it's a pretty clever illusion. Check it out. Vaping, pulling it down, right? It's very clear that that's what it is. But again, it's a beautiful clip because it might fool you, right? At first glance, you're like, oh, wow, UFO thing. Well, nope. It's just a vape stick. So I think there's a bit of a lesson here. Don't be fooled. Remain skeptical. And if you have UFO clips that you don't understand and think may prove aliens have landed on this planet, then share them with me on our Discord, like many others of you have done that. The link is in the description. You can join the community for free. Lots of people are scared for some reason. Like, I don't know what a Discord is. It's just a chat client. It's just like a community client. You download it. It's free. You don't even need to create an account, I think. Nothing. Just open that software. Click the link in the description. Poof. You're in our community. I'm there. Lots of other people are there. You can make new friends, talk about UFOs, talk about anything you want, really. Talk a lot about video games and anything that people care about. So join the Discord. Guys, I hope you enjoyed episode 7 of this show. That doesn't have a name yet, but I hope that by the next episode, we will finally have a name and I will be able to scream it into this microphone. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Smash the like button. Share the channel with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't yet done that. And I see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. Episode 8 today of me trying to explain or possibly debunk a bunch of UFO videos that you guys have shared with me on our Discord, and you can do the same. The link is in the description to our Discord. You can join it for free. Post the clips that you want me to look at that you think are possibly hard to debunk. Post them in the general chat or just DM them to me, as many of you have done. And if the clips tick all the boxes, they're a bit mysterious, they're visually intriguing, and they're more than 240p, then I might include them in the show and try my best to debunk them. Also, before we get into today's clips, I know I asked you guys for a name, and a lot of you guys sent me messages like, dude, we came up with plenty of good names. Why have you still not chosen a name for the show? And yes, that's true. You guys did send me great name suggestions. I have a short list of some of the best ones. I haven't made my mind up yet, so feel free to give me more suggestions. If you're new to the show, you're watching for the first time, and you might have a great idea for how this show should be called, then please leave that down in the comment section below. The only requirement that I didn't say last time, and that's really my own fault, is like I want to keep it a bit more general, okay? I don't want the word UFO in the name because I might debunk some cryptids, I might debunk some other paranormal videos that I find. So if you got a good name idea that is a little bit more general and is not like a direct nudge only towards UFOs, then please leave it down in the comments. Also, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, I said already, this is episode 8. I'll link a playlist with all previous episodes down in the description. But enough of this. Let's get into the first video. The first clip that you guys shared with me is a really cool one. Okay, I love this clip. It's called UFO Going into a Hill, and it shows a cigar-shaped object flying over a foresty area and then kind of just protruding what looks like into a hill, or at least behind the trees. Let's take a look. So you can see the object there. There's just some ominous music in the background, so we don't need to play that. I don't know if it's copyrighted. And you can kind of see it's a light object. It is elongated. It has a little bit of an irregularity in the back there, right? You notice this. The back of the object seems to have a little bit of something protruding here, right? That kind of takes it out of it just being a geometric object. Also notice, as it flies through these trees, it flies behind this tree, but in front of this tree. Okay, so it gives us a little bit of a distance and a scale. I mean, we don't know how tall or big these trees are. Another point to mention is, and that kind of convinces me that this is real footage, that it's not CGI, that someone actually filmed this object with a real camera, is how it protrudes or flies behind this tree. Because look at it, it flies through, and you can see these ever so slight white pieces or light pieces like shining through that tree. Not saying that's impossible, but you see this here, like very, very subtle white effects going through the tree. Again, not saying this is impossible to fake. Obviously, you can fake this using CGI, but this is where it kind of gets tricky. When you have something that's very brushy, that has loads of leaves and small details, now you want to have an object that CGI fly behind it. That's a pain to do. That's a pain to get that to look really realistic. So to be honest, looking at this here, it kind of looks perfect to me, which tells me that this, again, is probably a real object that was filmed. Also note, we're zooming in significantly here. Often these cameras, I assume this was a mobile phone camera, they automatically apply these sharpening filters if you zoom in enough, so you get like black lines, top and bottom of the object here, which is not part of the object, right? This is just the camera with a heavy zoom, trying to sharpen this object and bring it out a little bit more, hence giving it these kind of outlines. It's a sharpening effect, and you can see it on all the other trees and the detail down here on the trees as well. However, then as it keeps flying and flies into these trees here, that again, like there was like, oh, I don't know, man, that looks a little bit dodgy to me. In the first showing, actually, you can see it slightly better. Check it out, how it flies into the trees. I don't know, it almost seems to disappear there in the end. You see that? It seems to almost disappear. So that, again, like that gives me a little bit of a hiccup of it possibly being CGI. Did you see this? In the end, it just disappears. Poof, it poofs away. So I love this clip. I think it's fascinating. I think it's really cool. It could be CGI. I don't think it is, but I think I found a quite reasonable explanation what we are looking at here. Any ideas? You got any thoughts on this? You can leave that down in the comments as well, but until I really looked into this and read a few other comments, I was not aware that this is a thing, and that is cable logging. Okay, so there's a whole Wikipedia page talking about this, and what cable logging basically is they're transporting large pieces of wood, logs, tree trunks along zip wires. And you can see it here. Obviously, this is like a longer piece, and it's got a bigger harness up here. And because it's long and thin, this one wobbles around. But it's a fairly common practice in heavily, densely forested areas, which this clearly is, right? You look at the right-hand side, there's loads of wood. You look at the left-hand side. So the idea is you need to transport these heavy logs from one side of the hill across the valley to the other side of the hill. And the simplest and quickest way is just to attach it to a zip line. Make sure the zip line goes ever so slightly downhill, so the tree trunk doesn't get too much momentum, so that it might be too fast and gain too much momentum upon impact. And that's exactly what we see here, right? It flies along a straight line. That line seems to just have like a light incline, right? It's not a very steep incline. And hence this log seems to fly across that zip wire. And that would also explain the little indentation in the back here, which I assume is whatever holds the log in place. Now, I couldn't find too many videos of these logs flying in a horizontal position. Most of them seem to be attached in the manner that you see here. But I think if you have two of these harnesses next to each other, who knows how they're doing that in this specific spot, you should absolutely be able to attach a big log as the one you see here with two spots, and then it would fly down the zip line, fly, quotation marks, in a horizontal manner as we see it in the video. Now, a lot of you guys may say, well, hold on a second, sir. I do not see any zip wire, okay? He's even zooming in. I can't see anything, okay? There's nothing that would indicate that there's actually a wire or a line that holds this in place. And to that I would say, if you check the Wikipedia article, you get this image. And look at the wires that they're actually using for this cable haul logging, as they call it. They are not super thick. Okay, they are not like crazy thick wires. I mean, they do need to hold some weight, obviously. But if these are like steel wires, they don't need to be crazy thick. And you can see that even down here, like what is this, like 7-8 meters away from this actual machinery, it already disappears. You can barely see the wire going down into the woods here, and that's because it disappears in the brush. It disappears with the busyness of the background. And keep in mind, this is like a super crisp image, right? This is like a perfectly crisp photo. While this footage, I mean, just look at it, right? It's blurry, it's grainy. You can see the camera trying to get some focus on it by artificially sharpening the object. This is exactly the condition that would make a thin zip wire disappear. You just wouldn't see it. If this would be 4K footage and you wouldn't see the wire, I wouldn't make this suggestion. I think then I would change my mind. But I think in the manner that it moves in this very straight line, this very straight trajectory, it just gives away that it most probably hangs on some kind of pulley, which is attached to a wire that we just can't see due to the garbage film quality. So as much as I love this clip, I think it's really cool. I think it's really intriguing, and the ominous music they put over it really adds to it. But I have to say, I don't buy it. The fact that it kind of disappears so weirdly as soon as it penetrates the trees here, which is really weird. I don't know, man. That kind of pushes me into the CGI direction again a little bit. But whatever it is, I'm pretty sure it's not aliens. Okay, it's something else, and it's pretty much explainable. So I would say it at this point. It's at least explained. I'm not sure I can debunk it because all these are just theories, but the fact that this is aliens, it doesn't make much sense. Let's move on to the next video. So the next clip is not just one clip. The next clip is actually a few clips, and they describe more a phenomenon that's currently circulating in like the fields of ufology and all the UFO subreddits and so on. And that is that people are witnessing rotating silver cubes in various locations across the US. And I want to share a bunch of clips with you guys, because if it would just be this one clip, I don't think it would be worth sharing. But let's take a look and see what we think about whether these are the same objects. And let's take a look at the first clip.
Jumping back and forth.
So you said he's jumping back and forth. That's what he's claiming. Looks to me like he's moving the camera, but fair enough.
I'm on Glenstone in Springfield, Missouri. That is a cube spinning on an axis. Flickering. It's got lights around it. In the middle of the day.
Right, so few things to note here. He says this is a cube spinning on its own axis. It looks very much like a silvery object to me. It's got lights around it, which already makes me question the credibility of this observer, because if it's a silvery object and a cube that spins around, and it's a clear day, in the middle of the day, as he said, it's a blue sky, presumably there's some sun there as well. I mean, dude, one of those sides of this cube will inevitably, in its rotation, reflect the sun. So for him to automatically assume that there are some lights around it, maybe he could see it as he was filming it, like some detail that we can't see from this rather blurry video. But to me, the only thing I take away from this commentary is it's a cube, it's a silvery cube that's spinning on its own axis, okay? And it's the middle of the day, clearly. So again, this video in and of itself, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know, man, that's too easy to explain. I wouldn't share this with you guys. However, there's another video. The previous one was, as he said, shot in Springfield, Missouri. This one was filmed at a festival in Santa Cruz, okay? And I can't play it because there's music in the background, but the guy who films it doesn't really give any commentary. So again, it does look very similar, right? Like a cubic object spinning around its own axis. Notice that it's always the right-hand side that seems to be flickering, right? Like whenever the rotation spins so that the right side kind of matches the sun, that's when you can see like the light flickering. And there's a bit more of the footage. Again, it's just a very, very small object. And if you know my videos, then you know, like, look how it's moving with the wind here. My alarm bells go off. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, they do look similar. Is it worth talking about this? I'm not sure. But then I stumbled across this clip. And this is the third clip in the row. And this is slightly different. This was shot in Florida at the Miami Air and Sea Show. And you can see this jet, and this is not what I'm talking about. You can see this jet, I don't know, doing some kind of showcase, right? Flying over the beach, Miami Beach here. And then the guy who filmed this slows down the footage. So he filmed it with like a high frame rate. And then you will see an object coming from the bottom right-hand side here from the water, going to the top left, and it does look very similar. So check this out. Jet flies, footage slows down, and there it is. Do you see that? Flying across the screen. And a lot of people, the ufologists, right, on the Reddit subreddits, are like, dude, it's coming from the water. Oh my God. And I'm like, no, dude, there is no way of saying that. You can't. Like, if you look at this frame by frame, you see this is where it appears. This is kind of the first frame that we get of it. And there's just no way of really saying that it comes from the water. If you would say that that little white dot here is actually it splashing out of the water or something, if that would be the case, then it would be a rather big object. And even it's very fast. I mean, let's be honest, it made that jet look like a bitch, right? It zips past with a speed that's just insane. But if it would really protrude from the water, then this would be a rather big object. And I think a lot of people would have witnessed it, and maybe people would have spoken about it more. It seems to be that this is the only footage and the only witness report, so to say, that we have of this footage. So we have those three clips. And admittedly, the last one, the super slow motion one here, is kind of intriguing, right? It's like, hold on a second. All these objects look kind of similar. The first two, probably easier to explain. The last one, if it's in keeping with the rest, probably more tricky to explain. Now, I can't debunk this 100%, but I think there are a few points that I want to mention in terms of rationality. First of all, to assume that all of these are the same object, considering that one is in like Springfield, Missouri, the second one was filmed, I think, in Santa Cruz, and then the last one in Miami. Like, these locations are geographically rather far away. And of course, you can always make the argument and say, well, those UFOs, bro, from Santa Cruz to Miami, they can do this in the blink of an eye. Okay, light speed, bro. Sure, if that's where your head is at. I mean, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. But just if this would all have been filmed within a week in, let's say, Los Angeles, I'd be like, okay, that's interesting. But all the footage was recorded geographically quite far apart from one another. So my theory is that these are not the same object at all, and it is just the UFO believers jumping to conclusions because they look similar. The first one, the Springfield, Missouri one, I'm pretty confident is just a silver balloon, okay? And I know, it's a balloon. He said it's a balloon. But you can buy these cubic balloons. People buy them. Balloons don't need to be round all the time. And this is exactly what it is. If it would catch some momentum spinning around in the sky, then it would look exactly like what we have in this clip. So I think that's what the first one is. The second one that we see over these tents here could also be the same thing, right? It's a festival. People bring balloons or whatnot. Maybe they even sell them there to these festivals. So one escapes, flies over. Also, I mean, dude, it's a festival. You have things like drones recording things like that, right? So if it's a drone that has a silver finish, it could also be that. I mean, let's be honest, the footage itself is so blurry and it lacks the crispness that we would need to determine what it actually is. It does look kind of like a spinning cube, but we can't really say. So I think it might just be a balloon, considering it's a festival. It might be a drone that is recording the festival, but to jump to the conclusion of saying aliens it doesn't make much sense to me. Now, the third one, the Miami Air Show one, slightly more challenging. And I can't for certain say this is exactly what it is or give you a debunk that like reassures you that that's exactly what it is. However, there's still a few points there to make, I think. First of all, I don't think it came from the water at all. What I think this is an object that flies much closer to the camera. And that's why we get this incredible speed. I think this is like probably a meter or two away from the camera and not at all at the distance of this jet. And even if it would be at the distance of this jet or closer to it, how small is that? Like, what the hell is that, right? Are we getting like little micro UFOs now? Is still someone sitting in there? Are they just like some kind of drones that scope us out? Or what's the story there? Like, the size of it just doesn't make much sense. So my theory on here becomes a little bit clearer once you look at this clip without the slow motion, okay? And I'm going to play this for you guys. This is the same clip. It's very fast, so it's a little bit hard to see. But again, you know roughly from where to where it flies. Keep an eye on this. Did you see it? There it was. Zoop. And looking at this, I think it's pretty clear what it is. To me, this is an insect. Okay. This is a small insect that flies very close to the camera, maybe a meter or two away. That's also why nobody else is reacting to it. That's why it wasn't captured. I mean, you can see there are other people filming. It's an air show. Okay. Every camera on this beach is probably currently aimed at that freaking jet in the air. Why is there no other footage, right? Why is nobody else coming forward and say, yeah, I also captured this huge object that then came from the water and at like crazy speed flew over us? Well, the reason is because it's just a tiny insect. And the reason why it might be shimmering could literally be in super slow motion. You know, sometimes you get these artifacts from the compression. It struggles to capture the tiny detail. It could also be if it's like a dragonfly or something. They have highly reflective wings. They reflect the sun, but it might just be far enough away that you can't identify it for the shape that it actually is. And instead you just see like a little black dot that blinks every now and then because the wings of the insects reflect the sun. I don't know if it is that, but I think looking at this clip at actual speed, it looks so much more like a little insect. It has like what feels like the exact perfect speed of like some kind of small insect flying very close to the camera. So again, I think the lesson we're learning here is the UFO community just always jumps to conclusions. They're like, oh, look at this. This looks like this other footage. It's got to be the same object. It's like, no, bro, it could be the same object, but it could also not be. And it could literally, the first two could be the same object because it's a silvery squared balloon that reflects in the sun, and that's why it looks similar. Oh my God, man. The lack of critical thinking in this community. So the last one was slightly harder to debunk, but please let me know your thoughts, okay? These are just my theories. I look at this footage. I share this with you guys. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, whether you agree or disagree with me. Let's move on to the last clip of the day. So this clip was filmed in South Africa, allegedly in 2003. The original poster up here, the OP kind of got it wrong. He admitted that in the comments. You know, we're doing very thorough research here. We just messed up the year. It's not from 2023. Now, the stamp on the screen says 2003. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is actually a clip from 2003. Maybe this dude filmed the whole beach scene in 2003, for example, but just recently, because this has been circulating in the last month or something, this video. And then he later took the footage from 2003 and augmented the UFO over it, right, with CGI, for example. But let's take a look. Again, it's filmed in South Africa. There's a YouTube link. And this really looks like quite retro, right? Takes me all the way back to Bob Lazar's sports model. It takes me back to Billy Meyer's beam ships. It's vintage, bro. It's like serious vintage UFO stuff. And I quite like it. I think it's cool. You can see it zipping away there in the end, right? At insane speed. And this is so funny, right? Because a lot of people always comment like, did you see how quickly it zipped away? It has to be real, right? Because no human being would possibly survive. And it's like, yeah, I know. Dude, there's a million other options what it could be before it actually determined that this is a real object zipping at this speed. And then there's this famous Bob Lazar theory that these ships have their own gravitational field sitting around them. So that's why they can accelerate and do these hardcore 90-degree angles without smashing the pilots or whatever is inside the ship to bits. But there's a few things in this clip that I want to point out to you guys that make me question its authenticity. First of all, the UFO is not centered, okay? The UFO kind of sits weirdly on the right-hand side, and it's like, why would anyone film it that way? Admittedly, the sun reflection of it, that looks pretty authentic, right? It does really look like it's part of the film in the sense that it was really there, but I mean, that can be solved as well with a suspended model, for example, right? Maybe someone just had a play with it. Also note, even he's linking the original YouTube clip, like the reference clip here. It's the same clip. It just sits on YouTube. And it's not widescreen. We never get any copy, as far as I'm aware, of this clip at full widescreen. So someone cropped into it for some reason. Maybe it literally was just to upload it to YouTube Shorts or to TikTok or whatever. But that raises questions for me as well. Like, if this would be real, where's the actual widescreen footage? Why do we cut off the date and time down there? It just looks kind of fake based on that. And then as a last point, there are just really always these just common sense questions about something like this. Like, why if this would be a thing somewhere in South Africa, I mean, presumably maybe the guy was the only person at the beach who saw that. But if he wouldn't be the only person, surely there would be other people who would have filmed this. Also, what are the aliens doing, right? They're like, let me show you my spaceship. I shall hover over the beach on South Africa for everyone to see. It just makes no sense, right? It makes no sense that aliens would hover over a beach somewhere in South Africa without, I don't know, man. Like they traverse all these light years or whatever to come to this planet, and then they're not able to camouflage their ship, cloak themselves so we can't really see them. They're like, nope, I want to be visible, and I want to hover over a random beach in South Africa until I zip away, so I raise loads of questions. It just doesn't make any sense, and especially the zipping away, you know, it looks off, man. I mean, obviously an object moving at that pace always looks kind of off. My theory is this is probably footage from 2003. The dude filmed the beach, and then recently, because again, this clip has been floating around recently a bit more, he added the ship to it with CGI. It's good tracking, right? It feels quite authentic how it tracks and all that. So it's not a terrible job. But I think especially as it zips away, it kind of loses its credibility. It could also absolutely be a suspended model that's actually quite close to the camera. That's why it looks real. But then when it zips away, he literally did that in CGI. So he took the footage, cropped out the spaceship, and then let it zip off. Like that has been kind of done in After Effects. It's either or. I can't pinpoint what it is. But again, guys, I think the likelihood of this being real and being aliens and being very convincing footage of aliens visiting the Earth, I don't buy it, okay? But please, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Please leave your thoughts on those 3 clips down in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, please share this channel, share this show, because there's more coming your way with your friends, with people that you know enjoy this kind of subject. I would really appreciate that. Again, join our Discord through the link in the description. You can share clips with me over there. You can discuss UFOs with other like-minded people. I would appreciate to meet you there. And we don't just talk about UFOs, okay? We've got loads of rooms like where people vent about their challenges in their life, talk about video games. Like there's a huge, broad variety of topics that we talk about on our Discord. So I would appreciate to have you part of that community. Again, the link is in the description, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Subscribe, smash the like button. Don't forget that. And I see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. So in today's video, I don't want to talk about UFOs, okay? Instead, we're going to look at some pictures of alleged real aliens posted on Reddit. And my favorite part of these is that so many people still take them serious. All right, let's take a quick look and try to debunk them. The first one that I want to talk about is the garden body alien or the garden alien, whichever one you prefer. And it looks like this. Okay, we get 2 pictures. That's the first one. And that's the second one. And what do we notice immediately looking at this? Boobs, right? Alien's got boobs. He's got little boobs. He's even got little nipples. He's got small alien nipples. Okay, so very, very convincing stuff there. And again, my favorite part of this is scrolling down, going into the comment section. This is a legit worrying case, bro. This is legit worrying. It's never been debunked. We don't know what it is. You cannot possibly be serious. This is obviously polymer or foam clay sculpt by a rather unskilled artist. -1 downvote. It's fake. I mean, you know how easy it is to make something like that with modern tools, right? -2 downvotes. It's probably fake, but I don't know. -6 downvotes. Wow, the level-headedness of the alien buddies community is just way up there. If you don't confirm their bias that it's definitely aliens, then, you know, you get downvoted. They don't like their opinions challenged. But that's exactly what we're going to do. And the truth is, a lot of people came forward and said, well, it's got to be what they call a mandrake root, okay? And if you type that in, apparently there's some kind of Harry Potter connection. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. But you get some of these roots, you know, they do look kind of human. I mean, this one is clearly made up. But some of them have like a little bit similarity. But then going back to the aliens, right, you can, besides the nipples and the boobs, you can actually see like a head and a nose there, and there's a mouth, and, you know, it's got a lot of detail. That's quite defined. So I doubt that it's a mandrake root. And the truth is, Reddit had an absolute field day with this, right? They went crazy on it, and I love it. Look, they created this insane mind map of all the research and stuff that has been done around it, and it's massive. It's like a massive archive of references, of comparisons, of other websites that talk about it. And to be honest with you, it took me a while to dig my way through it. A lot of it is completely unrelated, right? But some of it actually is important and adds to the truth of this. So it's been found in Surrey, in South England, so actually not that far away from me. I should go there and check it out. But luckily someone went through the effort of actually putting all the final evidence and all the reference images into kind of one thread. And here's what they found, okay? So there's this guy called Robo Hudson, and he seems to be, I don't know if he's like a prop maker or just a prop collector, but he seems to have like a big library of these kinds of obscure objects. If you go through his Instagram, you find all kinds of like movie props of mummies, skulls, and skeletons that seemingly have been merged into kind of new creatures there. It's all very obscure, right? Anyway, so they spoke to this guy, and the conversations have been made public. And he said that these were pickle samples in sealed bottles. Probably someone took these out of the containers to take the photos. They were sold when the shop was sold. So he used to have the shop, which apparently closed down. I'm looking for more pics for you. He's looking now. And if you go to this incredible mind map that contains everything, these are the photos that he then sent. And you can see they're very, very similar, right? They have like these weird little sticky limbs, the nose, the eyes. They're not exactly the same, but then again, like these seem to be different specimens. And even those seem to be not exactly identical also, but bro, okay, we don't get only boobs, we also get butt. Here's another one that he shared, which is also quite similar, not identical, but I think at this point, looking at all this, it's probably fair to assume that these are props, maybe made for a movie. And that's what he says as well. In this conversation, he says, and just to clarify, do you know if these aliens were props or real biological material in the test tubes? Because if you look at these jars and the description underneath, it says mandrake fruit or love apples or apple or something. So the mandrake root can resemble a man or a woman. So the description that sits next to the jars reads that it's actually a mandrake root. But I think looking at it, it looks more like a prop. Anyway, they continue to say, did you ever take any of those out to check if it's actually biological material, which would probably be a root or something, or whether it's a prop that it's got wires in it? To which he then replied, I'm not opening them. I don't know what I can catch from them, bro. Which is reasonable. I wouldn't want to open a container that looks like that. Disgusting. So as this Redditor called Burner Alien states in the end of his post where he summarizes all the information about it, he says, we still do not have 100% proof it is fake, but I'm leaning much heavier towards the fake/hoax/prop side right now than the legit alien side. I'm like 95% prop, 5% of it being real. He's giving it 5%? What, that 5% that this is an alien? I mean, think about it this way. If this person finds it in her garden, right, and she takes a photo of it or whatnot, and then later she looks a bit closer, I don't know, maybe she cuts it a bit open or whatever, and she realizes, oh my god, look, there's intestines in it. It's like biological material. Surely you would call people who would want to have a closer look at this, right? And the only reason why that never happened, why the only thing that ever came out of this are those 2 photos, is because probably he or she kind of played around with it and like realized, oh, there's wire inside. Okay, it's wires, and it's a movie prop. Because if that wouldn't be the case, surely we would have heard more about it. Okay, so confidently saying it's debunked. Next alien. So this was posted just 2 days ago. It's a brand new alien mummy. Okay, and it looks like that. And people are speculating. Has it died? Because, I mean, look at its face, right? It screams in agony. It's like, that's how it looks. That's my best impression, to copy the facial expression of this creature. But again, people in the comments are like, where was this? I can see the sarcasm below me, but I need to know, where was this photo taken? Peru. Every freaking alien photo these days, taken in Peru on Facebook. It's been taken on Facebook, chaps. That's where it originates. Please pour some water on it. It's so dry. It's so dry. The only thing I'm wondering is, if I eat it, how high will it get me? Okay, because it does look like a freaking hallucinogenic mushroom. But that actually leads us into the right direction. Because, as it turns out, this image originates in the r/shrooms subreddit, where someone posted it. And if you go down in the comment section and you take a closer look at some of the replies, you quickly find out someone asking, well, this is AI, right? And the original poster confirms that it is. It's just an AI image, okay? I mean, as people who like to debunk and see images debunked, we have to be constantly aware of this, that these days you can fake almost anything, not just with Photoshop and image manipulation. You can actually just generate that stuff with AI. And I mean, if you look closely, you do find some warning signs there, right? Like, what's up with his arm here? That's not, I mean, there is no arm there. There's just a little bit of a thin shadow, apparently. But I'm pretty sure if it would be real, people in this subreddit would have grinded it up and ate it. Just to see what happens. Just to find out. You know, maybe it takes you to a different planet and you never come back. There's a possibility. So guys, that's it for today. It's just 2 aliens. I saw these pictures floating around and I'm working on another UFO video. And I didn't want to mix the UFOs with the aliens, and I didn't want to put it all into one video. So I'm going to do another video, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. We'll see how I get to it. But that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown of 2 incredibly convincing cases of aliens found out in the wild, or in an AI generator. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. I appreciate it. You can also subscribe or join our Discord, or both. The link to the Discord is down in the description. It's free. It's a nice community. We hang out there, talk about aliens, video games, and many other things. So if you want to find like-minded people, join our Discord. There you can also share images with me, right? Images, videos of UFOs that you want me to debunk. And I had a few people pointing me towards the Metapod UFO. Okay, bit of a teaser. That's going to come up in the next video. So we're going to talk about the Metapod UFO in the next one. Until next time, take care of yourselves, guys. I'm out. Bye. So here's a funny thing I noticed ever since I started debunking these UFO videos on YouTube. And that is that a lot of people comment and they're like, well, bro, you're just choosing all the dump videos, okay? Of course they're not real. You should debunk the real videos that are difficult to debunk. And then I say usually like, yeah, so which ones? It's like, and then they pipe down very quickly. Sometimes they join the Discord and they're like, well, how about this one? And they share these 140p videos with me, where like the what they claim is a UFO is literally made up of like 4 pixels. And they're like, well, look how it moves. So this is, okay, it really reveals what the UFO community and the believer community is all about, at least when it comes to critically questioning the footage that they're presented with. But today I've chosen a video that you guys shared with me as well, and that a lot of you guys told me that I should debunk because it's undebunkable. And that's what it says on Reddit as well. It's undebunked. It remains undebunked. Nobody has ever debunked this. It's impossible, okay? And that is the famous Metapod UAP video. This is a stabilized version. I'm going to play it. This is obviously first the unstabilized version. This is the original footage, so it looks like crap. But if you forward a little bit, then they did stabilize it, and you kind of get an idea. And look how it spins. Look how it spins around, right? Look, there's an altitude drop. It moves like vertically up and down, and then in a minute you'll see now it moves horizontally. See that? Moving horizontally, right? And it's kind of out of focus, but yeah, I guess the clouds help to see where it's going. And it really looks like one of these cheese grinders. I've got a cheese grinder that looks very similar. You kind of hold it like this, and then you rub Parmesan cheese on top, and it kind of falls into the little bowl at the bottom. Now, I'm not saying it's a cheese grinder. Even that's probably closer to the truth than it being aliens. But you get this footage here, right? Which is nicely stabilized. And you get a little bit of an idea, especially in the second when they zoom into it, this one. Now, here's what bothered me when I first saw this footage. Because obviously this UFO is made up of two pieces, right? You have like the shell that sits in the back of it, and then you have like this glass piece that sits in the front, almost a bit like a cockpit or something. It almost really looks like a soap bubble or something, right? But here's what bothered me. The finish of this plasticky shell piece here doesn't look right, okay? The reflection of the sun, I give them that, looks great. Right? How the sun reflects here on this little glass piece or whatever it is looks absolutely fantastic. But there's something off about the material that you see here. Keep in mind, this is from 2015, okay? It's a classic. But I never liked how the shell looked. The material, I mean, I work a lot with 3D software and rendering and stuff. Didn't look right to me. And then this in the end, this is gold, bro. The occupant. This is the footage that they show you this image. They're like, dude, it's the occupant. Can't you see it? Can't you see the occupant? Alien, bruv. They will even be able to tell you exactly what kind of alien race it is and how tall it is, and they're going to measure up the whole thing. It's like an ink blot test for these people, right? They see whatever they want to see. Here's a close-up. Did you see the close-up? They give you a close-up. There it is. The occupant, bro. Don't you see it? This is the alien, obviously. Some of these are like nice and like fairly crisp. Like you see, get a little bit of detail here. Even like another shape coming out of that bigger shell shape here that then holds this, what we would describe as like a glass panel or soap bubble, as I would call it. It really looks like a soap bubble. So we do get a little bit of detail here. And obviously it's been around since 2015. So we get quite a lot of people analyzing it, breaking it down. This is a clip from Instagram. And again, I look at this shell. This what is like grayish, greenish shell there. It hits me the wrong way, dude. It doesn't look right. That looks like a rendered material to me, but I was still skeptical. Is it really rendered? Is it like CGI? Because again, you see the sun reflecting here. That looks perfect, right? That really indicates like an angulated glass facade or something. It gives you a lot of detail. You see how the sun reflects there in that? So I was kind of skeptical. Even this really looks like the cheese grinder I have and like a plasticky fake material that you would render in 3D Max without putting too much emphasis and work into the actual material. I still couldn't debunk it, right? I was like, okay, it doesn't really look real to me, but it might be an alien ship, right? That's why it looks fake. That's why it looks like it's a rendered ship, because it's an alien ship. Dude, it comes from a different planet. So how come it would look real and terrestrial? So people over the years have put a lot of effort in stabilizing the footage over and over again, trying to tickle out even more detail from it. Here's another one, and that one is nicely stabilized, so you can see it actually changing direction. Right, so because some people were saying, well, it's probably an object that's suspended on some kind of fishing wire dangling in front of the camera. But then you get, again, footage like this, where it's spinning around with quite a bit of momentum into one direction, stops rather rapidly, and then slowly spins back to the other way, and then stops, right? So that also doesn't make much sense. If it would be an object that's suspended from a wire, it didn't make much sense. But then I stumbled across what I would call a debunk. Okay, and it explains it. Look at this footage. This is obviously just a short second from the overall footage. And if you look at it like this, nothing really hits your eye, right? Like the camera zooms out. Obviously, it's slightly blurry. Again, it's from 2015, so the camera tech wasn't fully there yet. But look what happens if you stabilize exactly this clip. And here it is. Oh, now I don't know if you know anything about tracking objects in film and artificially positioning objects so they're aligned with the clouds and all that. But what you see up here, do you see that jitter? You see the jittering of this object? And you got to look at this in comparison to the clouds, okay? If this object would be sitting stationary here, even it would be moving slightly or whatever in the sky, it wouldn't look like this. What we see here is an error in the tracking software. And I think I know why that happened. If you look at the beginning of the shot, there's almost nothing to track the object to. Okay, we get a little bit of the cloud down here, but the way that digital tracking works is you have clouds and other objects, and you basically tell your 3D object that's mapped onto the film to anchor itself to those objects, right? So the clouds are basically stationary, and you say to the object, like, here are 3 anchor points, cloud 1, 2, and 3. This is your position, don't change the position. But if there are no clouds, well, now you're struggling, okay? Now you can't reliably anchor your object, and that's how you get that jitter effect as you zoom out. And I think the dude, whoever created this, didn't notice it in this footage, right? Because it's much less visible, that it really struggles to position itself in a solid way to the clouds. But when you stabilize it, it is more than obvious. And that tells me that my initial feeling was right. It's a CGI object, okay? And I can hear you guys. You're like, well, wait a second. If this is a CGI object in 2015, okay, this is impossible. You can't really anchor an object like that. And look how it got out of focus and how the camera moved so rapidly. You can't map an object like that in 2015 on your home computer to something. Well, let me show you a clip that's from, when is this? From 2008, okay? So this is even 7 years before we got the alleged Metapod undebunkable UFO. Check this out, okay? This is a clip on YouTube. I'll link it in the description. And it's basically the same thing. And again, keep in mind, this is 2008. The other clip is 2015. Obviously, this is fake. This is just proving a point here. But if you could achieve this kind of quality on your home computer in terms of jankiness and, you know, out of focusness and going behind objects, and look how it is exactly struggling to maintain focus on all that. Again, 7 years before the other footage was created. So don't tell me it's not possible to do this in 2015. It absolutely is. And then to finally debunk it and just really hammer the point home, here's another piece of footage that shows the same effect, where you zoom onto a scene and now you stabilize afterwards the shot, right? And you can see every single object you see here, even the ones that are moving, like the people here walking along the pier, the little flag up here on the building, everything stays exactly where it's supposed to be. No object kind of jitters around like that alleged UFO that we've just seen. By the way, the footage that we see here was stabilized and provided by Max Falange on metabunk.org. Okay, so all the credit for this goes to him. But I think we can confidently say this clip debunks the Metapod UFO. There's nothing left of it, okay, after this clip. It's obvious. It's like, if you still think, no, it's aliens, and the reason why it jitters is because, you know, alien ships jitter. It's like, get the freak out, bro. The door's there. Close it behind you. Never want to see you here again. If you just want to believe and you're not open to the real world, then you don't need to watch these videos, okay? There's really no point, okay? So, we're done. The undebunkable Metapod UFO video has been debunked. I mean, leave your thoughts down in the comments, okay? If you feel it's not debunked, then I'm curious to hear what you think. Moving on, next video. So the next video is an interesting one, not only because it has been filmed in Roswell, that's right, Roswell, you may have heard of it before, but also it's interesting because it's been filmed from various angles and by various people, okay? So check this out. Dude was filming the plane, then he noticed this object in the sky. And it gives me, what was this movie called? Arrival, right? The Denis Villeneuve movie, great film, but it gives me Arrival vibes, right? With the pebble-shaped floating object. I mean, those in the movie were slightly bigger, but still, you get the idea. It's cool. So here you see it's someone else filming this, right? And here's a third person filming it. People sharing their Instagram account with it. And they're all filming the same thing. Now you notice it's not just this kind of whatever elliptical oval kind of shape that you see here. It also has some kind of flaps down here, left and right, right? So we only get this because this guy was a little bit closer to it. But again, all of it filmed in 2023 in Roswell, New Mexico. And I love it. This looks cool, especially since we have all these different angles. It raises a lot of questions. It looks fantastic. It's silvery, it's reflective, it's shiny, it's an alien object. It's got to be aliens. This time, aliens confirmed, right? Right, guys? No, it's not. Okay, let me debunk that one as well. It is the so-called sky balloon. And you can see it here. It has the flaps, and we're going to look at a short video. And you can see how it's in the hangar here and slowly coming out, lifting off. And guess what? It looks not only exactly identical to the other one, it also floats up in a horizontal manner and stays like that in the sky. Now, what does it do? Why would it be floating over Roswell? The reason is, it does bring, I think this was a test run, right? There's even like an article about it. Company tests high altitude airship over New Mexico desert, okay? And what it does, it's actually really interesting. It brings strong Wi-Fi signal to remote areas. So not that they're bringing Wi-Fi to Roswell, they probably have Wi-Fi, but they're testing it there. And there is even a quite detailed breakdown of the flight route. Again, this was in 2023, in August 2023. You see where they launched it, you see where it flew, you see how it looks, and it's a perfect match, okay? So that's what it is. But still, I love this footage. I think it looks really cool. And I mean, let's enjoy it with some ominous music real quick. Damn, bro. Now that I hear it with the music, I start to doubt my own explanation. Dude, the music, I mean, aliens, bruv. Aliens. Right, so that one also debunked. Okay, we've debunked it. There's nothing left of it. It's been shattered to pieces. I'm sorry, guys. I know, I love these films too. Don't think I'm doing this with bad intentions or that I want to ruin your little alien I want to believe dream. But dude, we gotta be grounded on reality. We gotta stand with both feet on the ground. And this is not, it's not aliens, okay? Not even the Metapod clip that everyone claims is undebunkable. It holds up, man. It just doesn't hold up. But guys, you still think this was the easy footage to debunk, and I'm only debunking easy footage, then please join our Discord. The link is in the description. You can DM me over there. You can send your clips to me. They're slightly higher than 140p. Then I might put them into the show and do my best effort to debunk them here. You know, give my opinion at least on it. But send me your credible videos instead of saying, you're always just debunking easy videos. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see a single comment that claims I'm only debunking easy videos. Now, that's it for today. I had another clip that I wanted to share, but I'll move that into the next video, okay? It's an alien clip, okay? I think I'm going to do a cryptid special next time with some weird cryptid, because I've got a few clips that are ridiculous and really, really funny, but also serious and credible, okay? At least if you trust the Redditors that analyzed that footage over on Reddit. But guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown of those two basically undebunkable videos. If you enjoyed it, then smash the like button, join our Discord, subscribe to the channel for more. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. It is that time of the week. We're looking at a few more paranormal, UFO, undebunkable, mysterious videos on this channel and trying to make sense of them, trying to explain them. And if you enjoy these videos, if you enjoy the series, then please smash the like button now before we get into the videos. I would greatly appreciate that. Now, the first video that we're going to look at today was recommended to me in the YouTube comments in one of my previous videos by user Pigwag. Okay, and Pigwag said, have you looked at the Homestead How UFO from 2 years ago? And I was not aware of it, but I googled it. And Homestead How is like a channel of like a family, as far as I haven't looked too much at the other videos, to be honest, but it's like a family that live in this kind of homestead place in Montello, Wisconsin, and they vlog their life and they do stuff around their home and all that. But they have this one particular video that really blew up 2 years ago. It's got 1 million views, and it's basically this guy capturing a UFO, an unexplained aerial phenomenon, with his camera, because this guy put this camera outside of his house, and these are some of the other shots you can see here. He's trying to capture, I think, a Milky Way, right? Some of these night shots. So he put it on a tripod, let it run through the night, just to capture some cool shots. You can see it here, like a nice time-lapse of clouds flying over his home. However, he accidentally caught some shots, and it's 4 shots that show an unexplained object in the sky, and it is quite mysterious. Here's the first one, and I think in the beginning there's actually a shot that, there it is. So it just shows how it looks. This is one of the shots, and the other shots kind of just see it flying to the left-hand side. So there's one where it's there, one where it's there, one where it's there, and it just flies across the sky, and it's like this brightly illuminated object. It's got like this light beam coming down from it, and zooming into it, you can kind of see, look, it's got like a reddish dome on top of it, and a very brightly illuminated, what looks to be an illuminated underside. Now I found someone that cleaned this image up even more, sharpened it a bit, and you do get a lot of detail in that one. Now this is not pushed through an AI filter or something. No detail has been added to this using AI. So you can clearly see what really looks like a dome on top of it, right? With a bunch of windows there. So I was kind of intrigued by this. It's got the bright illuminated underside, and then obviously looking at the image, that clear spotlight coming down from it. You know, sometimes when you have smudges on your camera, they stretch out the light a little bit, so it might look like a beam, but I don't think that's the case here, because then it would kind of go into both directions, and that just protrudes from the objects going downwards. So I think it is more a spotlight or something that shines downwards. So very mysterious, right? What could this be? Keep in mind, I don't think this is a cheap CCTV camera that's filming the night sky, like we've seen in other videos where airplanes fly by, and because of the long exposure, you get these very elongated light stripes with single dots above it from the blinking light. This is presumably an SLR camera that he uses because he's trying to capture the stars and the Milky Way. However, that doesn't mean that long exposure is not a problem here, okay? It just means that it's not long enough to get, if it would be a plane, for example, to get a very elongated stripe as we've seen it in other videos. So it's an intriguing case. However, the nifty experts over at metabunked.org, including Mick West, have done a great job looking into this, and they really came up with the actual perfect debunk, okay? I think there's no room for debate here, really. This is debunked, and I tell you what it is. It is a helicopter, okay? Because as the video says, they are based in Montello, and the guys found out that exactly in that night, exactly at the time when this was captured, a medical emergency helicopter was flying past their property. Now keep in mind, those med evac helicopters have bright lights all over them. Obviously, you fly at night, you have to make sure you see any obstacles that might be in your way. You need to see the ground if you want to land. So they are brightly illuminated. And if you look at this image captured in Lille, France, of a very similar helicopter, you get an idea of what we're looking at here. Now this is an older image, and it's been captured in 2007. I assume the camera is not as good. Hence, exposure is longer. Hence, we're getting a longer stripe of exposure. But you can see the same here, right? Almost like the windows, the fake windows sitting above the light stripe. The searchlight has been captured on multiple frames and then giving this illusion of the whole object having this kind of searchlight going down to the ground, like the whole object basically being like a searchlight. It almost looks like the sky opens up and the searchlight is shining through it. And there's many more images like this. I think there was a case in China that was very similar. It's a pretty common phenomenon when you have helicopters flying across the night sky, using searchlights at night and being captured with a camera that has like a fairly long exposure. Here's another example of a static long exposure photo of a helicopter with a searchlight. And again, it looks very, very similar. It looks very cool, right? It looks very mysterious, especially this particular image with like the searchlights hitting the ground and stuff. But that's what happens if you capture a helicopter with searchlights going down to the ground. Here's one more of a police helicopter above Venice, California, also looking the same. And people are even mapping the helicopter shape on top of the shape there to really match it up. And it kind of really does line up. So while it is a mysterious case, and I really love the photos, I was intrigued by them when I first saw them. I think pretty confidently we can say this one has been debunked. Let's move on. Let's get to the next one. Now, this video has been just shared 10 days ago, and for the past week, it's been making the rounds on Twitter and on Reddit, and people have been trying to debunk it. It shows this kind of boomerang-shaped object with lights underneath, right? And if we take a close look, there's even some video footage of it, and you see, look at this, right? See like these bright lights illuminating almost from the center of it there, outwards towards the ends of these wings. And there's a few things that I notice immediately before even properly debunking it, and I think we get a little bit more of a steady footage in a second. I apologize, it's very shaky. But I mean, first thing I notice is like, dude, these are LED lights, okay? Like, what, like aliens traverse the universe, overcome light years of travel to reach us, and then do a little disco RGB light show here? What are they doing? Are they just showing off their new graphics card or something? Is it a drone, right? Could it just be a drone that has some wings, maybe an unusual drone design? Well, actually, there's a very clear debunk of what it is. Here we're getting a slightly stabilized, slowed down version, really showing the lights illuminating and kind of rippling out from the center of it. Well, here's what it is.
On Monday night in Shanghai, residents gathered around puzzled by the colored lights flying in the sky. The UFO-like sight turned out to be kites equipped with LED lights.
I feel curious about the object. I don't know what it is.
What is it? People are puzzled. This young gentleman is as puzzled as everyone else. But you can see it's exactly what we're looking at here, right? Like if you look at specifically this clip here, it's a bit darker, right? I think the other one has been brightened up. But you can clearly see the boomerang shape. You can see the lights rippling out from the center. So it's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's a kite. Now, I don't know if this other thing was captured in Shanghai or where it originates from, where the clip originates from, but it is very clearly the same thing. So it's a kite. It's a kite with LEDs, and it's a pretty simple debunk. I'm not gonna lie. Now, the last video that I have for you guys today is a fun one. And it's not a UFO video, it's an alien. And this one has been shared 7 months ago, but I had seen it before, so it is an older clip. But basically, it is a bunch of young kids or younger gentlemen finding an alien which is covered in snow and frozen, kind of half uncovered there in the snow, somewhere in Siberia. And as the title of this Reddit post says, and what if the alien discovered in Siberia wasn't a hoax? We have to be allowed to ask questions, right? What is going on here? Is this real? Let's take a look at this clip. I think we can even hear the guys talking a little bit in the background. So I don't know what they're saying. I can't hear it, but check it out, right? So it's clearly half buried in the snow. It looks fairly credible, right? Like it looks, at least it looks like an organic object. It doesn't look like a cheap plastic mannequin or something like that. It kind of looks like an organic being with some kind of skin that has some translucency to it, some pretty gory wounds there, which is pretty disturbing. The elongated arms, it also feels like nicely, like I noticed how the neck, for example, looks fairly real. Like it doesn't look like it's bodged on or somehow cheaply connected to the rest of the body. It all looks like an organic mass. So I was intrigued. I was like, what is going on here? Unfortunately, the footage is, I mean, because it's a little bit older, I assume, like it's not very crisp, it's not very sharp, it's hiding a lot of detail. And people are comparing it to the alien mummies found in Nazca, in Peru a while back, saying that the shape is very similar. People are saying, looks the same to me. Yes, the head shape, the proportions are the same. Alien emoji. God, I love these subreddits, bro. Now, here's what got me intrigued. Some people say, skeptics say it's chicken. LOL. Tuh, that's ridiculous. Could it be chicken? That makes no sense at all. Well, actually, it kind of does. Because if you dig a little bit deeper, you find out that this ET, this extraterrestrial, has been exposed to be brown bread. Literally. Siberian alien was a hoax made out of loaf. And we're actually getting a close-up image here of the actual alien. It's been recovered, plus the two dudes who found it, who shot the video. And it says, the students behind the discovery of the alien body at the UFO crash site, quotation marks, have admitted that it was a crummy hoax made out of stale bread. Friends and shot a video that showed the alien's mangled remains frozen in snow in Siberia. The pair were questioned by the police over their extraterrestrial discovery, but admitted to their stunt. But not before their creation became an internet sensation, drawing almost 700,000 hits on YouTube. Their find was deemed serious enough for the Kremlin to get involved, and a spokesman from the Russian Interior Ministry confirmed the hoax. We found the alien in one of the students' homes, he said. It was laying under his bed. And an examination of it revealed that it's made of breadcrumbs, which were covered in chicken skin. So that's what that is. But hey, you know, misinformation. This is just like the Kremlin spreading misinformation because they don't want you to find out the truth, that it's actually aliens, okay? They're just covering up using a thick layer of breadcrumbs and chicken skin on top of it. Prosecutors are now considering whether the pair have committed any crimes. I hope they are fine. I hope they didn't have to go to jail. I think it's pretty funny. But yeah, it's just chicken skin covering breadcrumbs. I mean, you gotta admire the creativity here, okay? Those blokes thought it up, they came up with it, and you can kind of, you seem to see a little bit of chicken skin here. It really looks like chicken skin. And I mean, that's what gave it the organic look. That's why it kind of looked real in this kind of grainy video and not like some kind of really cheap and badly made puppet, because it is actually organic material. So these guys actually put some thought into it, and I appreciate that. You know, they're like, we want to make it look real. Let's get some real skin of a real animal like a chicken and try to make it look as real as possible. So, well-deserved 700,000 YouTube clicks. I like this one. But guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, those 3 videos. Please do the same as, what was her name or his name, Pigwack, and share some of your favorite clips, videos that you want me to debunk down in the comments. I regularly get comments of people saying, dude, why don't you debunk videos, you know, that are more credible? And then I always say, like, dude, then share them with me. Which videos are credible? A lot of the clips that you guys shared with me, including the Metapod UFO and so on, these are the videos that people claim to be credible, and we can still debunk them on the channel. So please share your videos with me down in the comments, describe them or something. I'll look them up, I'll find them. I appreciate your time. If you enjoyed the video, then again, please smash the like button. I would greatly appreciate that. And I hope to see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. We are going to look at a few more allegedly unexplained videos, trying to make sense of them, explain them, debunk them. We've got 2 UFO videos today and 1 kind of cryptid thing that I want to share with you guys. It's quite interesting. We'll get to that in the end. But the first one I want to look at is a post that appeared a few days ago, 5 days ago, on Reddit, okay, and it's titled MI6 Found UFOs with a Video. I came across this stating that MI6 Special Forces in the UK came across a UFO. There's a video taken from the jet showing 2 disc-shaped UFOs. Can we dig deeper about this? What's going on? So I was intrigued, okay? Turns out it's an article in Italian on an Italian website called Il Giornale d'Italia. Obviously, my Italian is flawless, but luckily we have Google, and Google helps us to translate it into a language we can understand. And it reads, UFO disc traveling at hypersonic speed shot down in the United Kingdom. MI6 officer says it performed maneuvers that were impossible for military aircraft. A secret program for the recovery of unidentified flying objects is underway in the United States. An MI6 officer has revealed, and it's funny because it really gets only those 3 very short paragraphs that don't say anything. Just that they've kind of recovered an unconventional aircraft. It doesn't say like how that happened or give any additional context, only that it happened over northern England apparently, and that the allegedly downed disc-shaped object traveled at hypersonic speed. So we don't know anything about this, whatever this means, but it comes with this video, and that's what intrigued me. Okay, let's take a look at this video. It doesn't have any sound, but you can see another jet there on the top, right? They put their little watermark of the newspaper there, and it looks fairly real, right? I'm looking at this. First, I was in awe. I was like, hold on a second. This kind of looks fairly legit. It shows these 2 disc-shaped objects kind of flying alongside these. Oh, here we go. Suddenly we get audio. So we can see these 2 disc-shaped objects kind of flying alongside these 2 jets. And I was like, how can we debunk this, right? Could it just be CGI? That would be the easy way out. It does look a little bit wonky looking at it. However, it does look kind of real to me, right? As real as something like this can look. But the funny thing is that in no shape or form there's any context given in this article about this video. It doesn't say this has been video that's been taken with it during the incident or anything that would give it context. So if you dig a little bit deeper, just in case you come across this video, it turns out this is from a video game. The video game is called DCS, and there are people in the comments who say I play a ton of DCS. This is 100% from DCS with the saucers modded in. There are even pre-existing UFO mods. They could have easily done it with this. I'm beyond shadow of a doubt certain that this is DCS. I also believe Grush is telling the truth, but this one ain't it. And people are sharing videos from the same video game. Keep in mind the reason why you get this fairly natural head movement instead of like, let's say, how a mouse would move in a video game is because people are playing these games in VR, right? So they're wearing headsets, and as they're moving their head around in a kind of natural way, you get this effect. Also notice how it kind of jitters left and right of the screen, right? And that is an effect, I assume, from recording the footage through the VR headset. And my theory is that that is why they cropped it off left and right, and why we only get kind of the center shot of it, because they didn't want to have the jitter in it. People are also pointing out that there is this recording.
Like lines coming down below, but I can't see anything below it. So I can 11 miles. Up there to the south.
That apparently is, like, this is an actual recording from like some jet pilots that shot down something over Lake Huron a while back, and it looks like this recording was used in the video that we just looked at. It sounds very similar. So people are pretty sure that this Italian video is basically just a CGI embellishment that accompanies the article. Okay, so nobody ever really claimed that this is real, but for whatever reason they try to make it look real. There is no reference to it in the article. So, I mean, that was an easy debunk. It is basically from a video game. But we had stuff like this in the past, right? Where we had footage from war zones, and then it turned out that it was footage from Arma 3, I think the video game, where they were shooting down airplanes. It just looked kind of real if you don't look twice. So that's what this is. This one is debunked. Let's move over to the next one, and this one is indeed slightly more tricky to debunk. I'm not sure I can reliably debunk or explain it. It's an interesting piece of footage that kind of made the circles around the internet just 2 days ago, and it's called Possible UFO over New York City. Let's take a look. Someone filmed this out of a window, I assume out of an airplane, and flying over New York City, and you get a did you see it? I mean, notice the beautiful view. And lots of people are commenting underneath that. Like, I can see my house from here. But did you notice the UFO flying by? There it is. Okay, it moves very, very fast. So luckily, the nifty UFO researchers on Twitter slowed it down and are giving us a frame-by-frame analysis of this. So let's take a look at that. And there it comes. I think we're getting 4 frames, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4.5 frames. We're getting 4.5 frames of this so-called UFO. Now, a few things to mention here. First of all, I notice that it's tilted forward. We've seen this in videos in the past, right? Which always kind of indicates to me that it is some kind of propeller-driven thing like a drone. Because would a UFO really need to tilt forward in order to fly forward? That doesn't make that much sense. But overall, I mean, that's why I'm saying I'm not sure I can actually debunk this one, because it's very inconclusive to analyze something based on basically 4 frames. One more thing that stands out to me looking at that is if they would be flying past this with an airplane, and presumably this object is also moving forward at a certain speed, so you have 2 objects really fast flying past each other, you would naturally see some kind of motion blur behind this object. Now, it's possible that part of what we see here is actually motion blur, right? That just the back of the little black object is actually the object like stretching itself out, kind of creating like a trail of blur, but it doesn't really look like that. We also get like this footage here, where someone just stabilized it and looped the 4 frames so you can get a rough idea of how it looks like. To me, to be honest, it looks like a blacked out drone, like a drone that has some depth to it and that goes around, and that's why it's tilted. It kind of is in line with that. But again, obviously, it's a bit tricky to analyze. So I would be curious to hear your thoughts on this actually. What do you think this is? Is it aliens? Is it the final confirmation of aliens landing or flying, visiting our planet? Leave any of your thoughts down in the comment section below. It doesn't look convincing to me. And we know that presumably this was recorded with a phone. Phone shutters can create all kinds of weird effects with shutter speed and so on. So I have to assume that it's probably not aliens. People then also went through the effort of enhancing it, taking the frames and sharpening them using AI tools, and suddenly we get all kinds of detail that we couldn't see before. And the reason why I'm putting this in here is just kind of to give you guys almost like a warning. Be aware that these kinds of amplified and enhanced images are most of the time nonsense, right? Like this one, this is a version of Jeremy Corbell's famous Jellyfish UFO enhanced using AI, and this is the original image, and you can just see there's not much left of it, and suddenly people start to interpret all kinds of things in it, saying, oh look, there's an alien head, you know, can you see it? There's the mouth and there are the eyes, and it's like, that's not really there. This is just your AI giving you details that are not really there. I mean, I give you this example where they take a pixelated image which is clearly Barack Obama, and then when you actually enhance it using AI, that's the image you get, okay? So you just can't trust AI-enhanced imagery in that way. This is complete nonsense, and as much as I would love to see that kind of detail and say, oh look, it's almost cut in half, and the front looks like a cockpit and some kind of glass, and it's like, no, stop it. It's not there, okay? Don't trust AI-enhanced imagery. But let's look at the final, it's not a clip, an image, of a mysterious cryptid story today, and that is this one, okay? Slight trigger warning, it's a little bit disgusting, but it's a mummified giant finger which was found in Egypt in 1988 by Gregor Spurri. The finger was said to be 15 inches long, which is about 38 centimeters, and it is estimated that the finger would have had to come off of something about 16 feet tall giants, confirmed, okay? Obviously. Now, before we go deeper into this, I want you guys to switch on your common sense. Look at this with a common sense hat on. This dude found this somewhere in the desert, somewhere in Egypt. And here he is coming out of the desert, claiming to have found this giant finger. And I'm just saying, like, okay, where is it today? If this would be a provable, authentic, real finger of a giant, the only one in existence that we can prove to be real, where is it? Well, it mysteriously disappeared. Nobody really knows where it is. Also, no X-ray of it exists. No experts ever really looked at it and analyzed it. I mean, let's be honest. A discovery like that would shatter the Earth's history. Here is a finger of a creature that could be 16 feet tall. You know, now we have final proof that giants potentially are, you know, it makes no sense. The whole thing, if you just start to ask a few basic questions, everything falls apart. It crumbles like a house of cards. Just like when Joseph Smith found some gold tables or whatever he found. Right? It's like, I found this. It's the revelation of the gods. Trust me, bro. I have seen the word of our God. It's like, no, dude, we need a little bit more than that. Now, if you go into the comments, people are speculating that it might be a fossilized camel's foot, and the fossilization makes it look like a giant finger. However, let me warn you, please do not search for camel toe. Okay, don't search for camel toe on Google because you want to research it. This makes the research basically impossible because we just can't search for mummified camel toes. That would be a foolish thing to Google, not gonna lie. But I think one thing is pretty much confirmed. It's not a giant finger. Okay, it's not a finger from some kind of giant that proves all of our Earth history wrong. And that becomes pretty clear when you just start asking a few normal, rational questions. So guys, these were 3 more cases. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on these. Besides the first one, which was clearly a video game, the other 2, you know, I have no solid evidence to debunk them. I just have a rational approach that makes it pretty clear that it's not real. But maybe you disagree. Okay, so feel free to leave all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Also subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it maybe with your friends, okay, so we can grow the numbers and I can do more content like this because that's really what it's all about. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. Guys, we're back. Your favorite UFO debunking show. We're still here. We're still doing it. I took a few days off. Okay, I was away. But I'm back now. Okay, so I apologize for the little delay in regular uploads. But we continue with full speed ahead. And I've got 2 clips for you guys today that we're going to look at. One is actually the solar eclipse UFO that's been floating around. So we're going to look at that, try to make sense of it, explain it, debunk it. And the other one is this one. No, it's not that one. I'm sorry. This is my poor attempt of injecting humor into this format. No, the other one that we're going to talk about later on is actually much harder to debunk, and I'm not even sure I can debunk it, so I need a little bit of your help on that as well. But let's get started on the first video, which is the solar eclipse UFO that's been floating around the social medias. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm going to play it for you guys without sound, though. Oh, do you see that? Do you see it float? Oh, look at that. It floats right behind the clouds. I can't play the sound for you guys, okay? Because there's loads of swearing, like, what the F was this? I don't know why they would talk like that. But this is like in, where is it? Arlington, I believe, Texas. But here's what's fascinating about this clip. If it would be just this one clip, I wouldn't probably even talk about it. But there's a whole bunch of them. Oh, I can't play the sound as well. Look at that. That's a different clip, okay? Probably of the same thing. People are recording this. Obviously, you know, it's no coincidence if there's a solar eclipse. Everyone's pointing their phones to the sky, so people would naturally capture everything that's happening from various angles because they are recording anyway. But here's another angle, and that's also not the only one. Like, there is a whole bunch of, you know, this is like the Free Press Journal, I don't know, like a newspaper site or whatever, and they put together a little compilation of all the videos that show the exact same thing from various angles. Now, I don't know how many angles there are exactly, but there is a whole bunch, so I guess that excludes the option of this being CGI, right? I have to assume that this is a real thing that people actually witnessed. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know why people would think this would be aliens or a UFO. You know, people say, I found this one quite interesting. Great find. When have we ever seen a video of multiple people saying, whoa, WTF, oh my god, did you see that? This has multiple layers of credibility, especially with the video showing multiple shots in Arlington. Exactly. That was not the shadow of an airplane. Okay, not the shadow of an airplane, confirmed. I have news for you. Unfortunately, that's exactly what it is. I mean, let's be honest. I'm sure you guys guessed this by now. Now, funny enough, we know that NASA was doing tests or recordings or measurements of the eclipse while the eclipse happened, so they were flying around jets. Also, we know that there obviously is not only Arlington Airport close by in the close vicinity, but also like US Air Force bases and stuff. So it's fair to assume that this was a NASA jet flying by. And just for reference, you can see videos like this when you can find them, where you can see actual commercial airplanes casting a very similar shadow. Notice that you barely see the wings in this one as well. Here's another example. This one does cast a shadow, and here you can see the wings slightly more defined, but obviously ultimately whether you see the wings or not depends not only on the shape of the aircraft. So if it's not a commercial airplane, it might be a jet that has like a more triangular shape. So the shape of the wings are less defined, and they would be less defined in the shadow as well. And also it depends on the distance of the plane to the clouds. This plane in this particular example flies very close to the cloud, so you see an almost one-to-one trace of the shape of the aircraft on the clouds. If the aircraft would be much higher and have a different shape, you will get a very similar effect than the one you see here. And also notice, if you actually look at the video, let me see if I can pause it, you can see a little bit of wings. Do you see this? Left and right from the plane. They're not defined as wings, so to say. Also, the shadow moves very fast, which indicates to me, yes, it's a military jet and it flies quite high above the clouds. But also, you can see almost a little, do you see this? Like there's a little bit of a shadow of a wing here. There's like a line that is on the other side. So it's not that there is no shadow at all. It's just, I think the shadow has been distorted due to the distance of the object to the clouds being very high above it. So, easy one. This one's been debunked. Okay. But let's get to the second one. And as I said before, this one is a trickier one. This is not easy to debunk, okay? I watched this. Someone shared this with me on our Discord. Join the Discord, link in the description. Okay, you can share your clips with me there. And if they're as good as this one, I will talk about them. Now, it's a 2-minute 26 video. It's a few years old. It has been allegedly debunked by Mick West in a separate video. We're going to look at that, but I dare to question that debunked by Mick West, actually. I don't think he's considered all the factors in his debunking video. But let's take a look at this video first, and you guys let me know down in the comments what you think. So note that you can see another plane there. You see the contrails. And look at this object, right? And there's a bunch of planes. So the sound you're hearing is from that private jet or whatever that is, flying very close by.
What the hell is that?
What is it? It's shining in the sun, reflecting the sun. You saw it. Now watch this. Ooh, did you see that?
Oh, what in the...
Oh.
Okay, I'm confused.
We can tell.
That is not a goddamn airplane. That's an airplane.
Right. Note that in this airplane we just looked at, you can see the wings, right? They were.
Stop, Dozer. Stop it.
Dozer! Get out of the way, Dozer. Not now. Dozer wants to play. He's like, oh, we're running? We're running? Yes?
It's right there.
Look at that.
That thing doesn't have any goddamn wings.
Notice that it does move at it does seem to move at a fairly rapid speed, right? It's not like, let's say, a balloon that would slowly drift in the sky and then also potentially rotate or something in the wind. It does move in a straight line at a fairly rapid speed, it seems. It doesn't have contrails. It doesn't have wings. And we've seen several other planes at various distances and sizes, just to compare it directly, that did have wings, where the wings were very clearly...
Dozer, you're crazy.
Oh, Dozer. Come on, Dozer. Really? Not now. Dozer's out of control. Do you see this? Here's another example. And yes, you can see... this plane, for example, also doesn't have wings. It does have the contrails. And keep in mind, like, contrails depend on how high in the stratosphere, but how high in the sky you are. You know, different heights will have contrails or not. So I'd say that the contrails are missing is not really a piece of evidence. Okay, that's fine. Also note that, like I said, this plane that you see here doesn't show the wings as well. But what we notice is that this plane, as well as the other planes we saw before, are much smaller than this particular object, right? And we've seen planes earlier in this video that are really high up in the sky, and you can clearly see a little bit of like wings there, right? If you look at this, this is clearly at least some kind of, you know, it emulates like a triangular shape or something with like a body, a fuselage, and some wings and stuff. So the problem I have with this is that the size of this object doesn't really line up with the other airplanes, because I think it's fair to assume that this object, as long, as clear, as big as it is probably closer to the camera than this plane that we see later on, which is much smaller, much further away, but it does show the wings. So how does that make sense, right? That just doesn't make sense. If you have an object closer that's supposed to be an airplane and it doesn't show the wings, but then you have one that's much further away and you can't see the wings, things don't line up. And then also there is this weird movement behind the tree. I'm sure you noticed it, right? Like, look at that. Look how it seems to bounce back and forth. Right. So there are a few question marks about this footage. Again, it's a few years old. It's been talked about. I'll link Mick West's debunk video down in the description so you can check it out yourself. But one more important point to mention on this clip is that this is not the only clip that recorded this, okay? This video, as it said in the title, was recorded in Wichita. And here's another video that lines up exactly on the time and date of someone else, also in Wichita, recording the same, or what seems to be the same object. Now, this guy doesn't zoom in as much, so it kind of remains a little line on the sky, on the firmament, but he's the same. He's like, this thing doesn't have wings. Like, I've seen planes 1,000 times. I'll link all these videos down in the description, by the way. You can check them out yourself. But he's equally confused, right? He's like, what the hell is this? This video is not as good, so we don't need to look at it in full length. And then there's also a whole news report, including another video and a bunch of reporters talking about it, where people recorded what seems to be the same object, also in Wichita, at the same time. So, right, at this point it gets interesting, because when I first saw the movement behind the tree, I was like, yeah, that's like, you know, that's like a tracking error. Something is messed up with the tracking. The object is CGI. Someone put it in and they messed it up. I don't think anymore that's the case. We have like these several corroborating reports and videos that all show the same object. I think it's fair to say that that object actually was in the sky. But let's go through these points, the challenges, and go through them one by one and see whether we can debunk them. First one being no contrails. Briefly spoke about it. Not every airplane has contrails at all time. It depends on the height. Remember, at the beginning we saw this private jet coming in. That doesn't have contrails because it's at a quite low altitude, so it wouldn't have any. So I'd say the contrail argument just falls flat. Okay, that's not really an argument to say because it doesn't have contrails, it must be aliens. Now, the irrational movement behind the trees, when looking at it in a bit more detail, can actually be explained a bit easier. Now, I'd like to reference Mick West's video here, and he's kind of doing an experiment with a similar airplane. And look how it moves to these trees now, right? Because he's moving the camera, and the effect is pretty much exactly the same. So I think it's fair to assume that the irrational movement behind these branches is most likely caused by the lady moving the camera, you know, relative to the branches. It's basically parallax effect. The branches are much closer to the camera, so you move the camera, the branches move faster than the plane, and you get this effect, okay? So I think the irrational movement behind the branches also doesn't explain anything. It's not any indicator of anything paranormal or alien or anything out of the ordinary, okay? I don't think that adds to it. But there are two more things that are unusual, okay? First one being that it doesn't have wings, and we get to that in a second. And the other one being, at 28 seconds, you can kind of see, and we're going to flick through this, right? One by one, frame by frame. Look how the object now goes behind these branches, right? Look at it. It goes behind the branch. And here, it seems to protrude in front of the branches. And people pointed this out in the comments on Reddit and stuff under the video, saying like, how come this object blocks out the branches, right? Because you can clearly see there's a branch here, right? Like a little black branch that holds this leaf. Then as soon as the object goes past it, you see it seems to actually black out these branches and almost go in front of them. Now that can be explained as well. That is because the object is far away. It's very, very bright. Notice that exactly in this moment, it is pretty much reflecting the sun at the brightest spot that it can be. So the brightness and the lack of detail caused by this, what is presumably a mobile phone camera, almost overwrites small details within the lens of the tree. Notice that it doesn't black out all the branches, right? Like here, the thicker branches it goes behind, but the very thin ones, the light is just so bright that it almost covers up the branches. So again, that is not an indicator that anything unusual is happening here. So the only thing that remains really unusual to me is the lack of wings. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I can't explain it. I do think that it is probably an airplane, the way it moves, the way it flies. But again, this object and its size seems so much closer to the camera than, for example, this plane, which is clearly much further away, but clearly has wings. Now, it might be something that the wings are exactly in the wrong angle, and you get this a lot if you have a camera that's quite garbage, you know, and you zoom into airplanes like this, you just don't see the wings. But then if you use a much better camera for the same airplane, you do see the wings. Also notice that these wings are cast in shadow, right? This is often the case with airplanes because they are underneath the plane. So if they fly exactly in the wrong angle, note how this back wing here almost perfectly blends into the background. Here's another example where you can see the wings obviously being cast in shadow. So for example, this might be an explanation, right? Because the wings in this particular airplane are on top of the plane. It's a smaller airplane. The wings are on top and they almost perfectly blend into the background. So that, in my opinion, is still a more likely explanation than aliens. But nonetheless, in the original footage, the size to me just doesn't match up, right? This plane being really, really far away, being tiny while the wings are visible, and the object we're actually looking at is much closer, much brighter, much clearer to see, but for some reason we can't see anything at any point throughout this whole video that would indicate wings. So guys, I mean, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think it's aliens? Aliens finally confirmed? Because I really can't make much sense of that particular detail. Again, personally, I think it probably still was an airplane. It might be one of those moments where just the things line up perfectly, right? It's the perfect angle where the sun hides the wings because of the shadow. Maybe it's a specific type of airplane that is very silver. I don't know, maybe it's a military type of craft or whatever it is. And it's just a few factors coming together that all align and give you this illusion of this actually being just like this cylindrical object, tic-tac shaped UFO. Don't know. Leave your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. This is an intriguing case. Thanks so much for sharing this with me on the Discord. Couldn't really debunk it 100%. Love the footage, and I'd love to get more of this from you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'd also appreciate to hear your stories of the solar eclipse. Did you get a good view of it? Share any of your thoughts and experiences on that down in the comment section as well. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you did. And I hope to see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye.